I would just like to call this meeting to order. This is Tuesday, June 13th at exactly 2 p.m. We do have, all councilmen are present and we do have a quorum, so we can conduct business. The first item on the agenda are workshop items, and this is the town council meeting procedures for tonight. So I'm going to ask Kristen to kind of go through that and how we ended up there and all those good things.
Let me get that agenda up so I can go line by line.
You're gonna do the updated June book draft, that email you bring up?
Yeah, you can look at that. I'm just gonna go through the agenda line by line. So not a whole lot of change towards the beginning of it, other than once the agenda's adopted, then it's like tonight the mayor's got the about the fiber for the town, so she'll talk about that during the announcements. If we had any proclamations, say for the Arbor Day proclamation or anything, that's where those would go. They would be read in their entirety, so she would have you just read that proclamation. And then the next portion of it is the public comment. And the mayor had the idea to move that beforehand so that, you know, we can have that early and have everything say, anything that's not on this agenda that you want to talk about, let's talk about it. And so we're probably not going to do the sign-up sheet for it. They'll just have to stand up, say their name, and then they'll get their 3 minutes. Once that's done, then it goes to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is anything, so this will basically be, once this consent agenda is adopted, anything in it is adopted. So it's just gonna be one vote for everything in that list, but if the council or the mayor has anything that they wanna pull forward and handle separately, they absolutely can do that. The council can do that, and the mayor can do that, the audience cannot do that.
And that's right in Robert's
But,
rules.
yeah, but anything on this agenda, so the mayor will read the list, she'll go down the list of the consent agenda, and then she can say, does anybody, meaning anybody in the audience, have any questions or comments about anything on this list? And that's when they can talk about it. So if somebody wants to look at the dispatch report and wanna talk about it, that's where the book is. So tonight I'm gonna have Jamie doing just basically a slideshow. She's not gonna be scrolling through the book. So if they wanna look at anything specific in that, we'll have to be able to pull it up separately, which is not that big of a deal, but so that way we can get all those questions and comments without dragging them into the main portion of the meeting, and it might help quicken things a little bit. So the mayor will say, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? And instead of everybody going, I move that we approve the consent agenda, you won't have to read from a script anymore. You can literally just go, so moved. And that's it. And then she'll ask for a second, and she'll read back who motioned, who seconded, and then she'll say, all in favor, say aye. So instead of having 10,000 motions and 10,000 scripts for everybody to read off, it'll shorten everything. So then the next thing on there is the public hearing for planning and zoning. So Councilman Black is going to read his recommendation. He's presenting that. Chairman Black is, so he'll read that, and then he'll be available to answer if anybody's got any questions. And again, anybody in the audience can ask a question, the council can ask questions about that, and that's why he's gonna be there to answer anything like that. And then, same situation, the mayor will say, can I have a motion to approve this lot combination, so moved, and etc. And then the ordinances, this is where it's gonna be a little bit different, instead of, especially like the new ordinance is a pretty substantial ordinance, where it's been posted for so long. Instead of reading it out, the mayor is gonna say, can I get a motion to approve ordinances by title? And that means that whoever wants to present it, so like for the budget, I don't even know, who has been doing the budget?
You?
I have been. So where I'm not a councilman, I can't do that. But basically, all it'll be is that ordinance 2023-06 appropriations, and then you can, if you feel like it, read the description, the little blurb of what's changing in there. And then the mayor will say, can I have it approved as presented? And then so moved, etc.
Probably
And then-
ought to be me,
The appropriations?
Appropriations.
Yep, that'll work.
since it's coming from the Finance Advisory Board.
That is true.
Now, when she says, can I get a motion to approve by title, and if someone says yes, but then it doesn't pass, so say only one person says we wanna approve by title, then we move into, we have to read the whole ordinance. And so, it's.
Please.
It will save a lot of time if we just do it by title. The only way I can see if we would really need to read the whole thing out is if, like, as of today, someone said, no, we're changing this today. And we haven't had time to have it presented
It's been
and posted. So then we could say, okay, this has been posted, but here are the changes, and can we approve it that way? And then the next section, the mayor and council section, is literally for, Ron can see, we had a water board meeting, and here's what we discussed in the water board meeting. You can say, I'm planning a block party for this weekend, that kind of thing. Any updates that, anything that doesn't require discussion or vote, just basically a general announcement, that the council wants to present to the people there. And then adjourn. I think that this will invite a lot more comment, a lot more informal comment, instead of everything being so formal and rigid. It'll be a little bit easier for people to say, hey, I've got a question about that, and then we can say, okay, what's your question about it?
Yeah, and it's
So.
pretty consistent across the state, this type of agenda. As we start to look at more and more and more communities and watch the councils, I was like, that looks so much better than ours.
Yeah, they seem to flow a lot better.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite seem so,
Yeah.
like we're not the state legislature, we're, so it's not quite so rigid, but.
Yeah.
So towards the end, when the town council, like, will announce something, like, will some of the stuff like the safety day and that sort of stuff, you'll still
Nope.
say, oh, no, you're not
You
saying
get to
that.
announce that.
Okay, but you'll,
Yeah, so if there's
Okay.
NRB things, then she wanna,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have that list of upcoming activities anymore, so
pretty
if you
redundant.
have something on there that is something that you're doing, like,
Uh-huh.
if this was happening last week, you could, Rue could announce about Arbor Day.
Yeah.
And anything like that you know is coming up that's, want the town to know about, that would be the time for it.
Mayor, Marty's got her hand up.
I got two questions.
Okay.
The first, since you're not gonna read the motions, which I think is a good idea, because it'll speed things up, will there be copies for people in attendance made available? Copies of the ordinances?
We didn't really talk about doing that, but I suppose we could.
We've
'cause-
done it with great big ones before.
So right now, the way that the packet is set up, that's on the website right now, before it had all of the motions in it and it had everything written. And so right now, that packet just has like the actual, so it's got the actual ordinance in it. It's got, the consent agenda, and it's got the map and the recommendation from the P and Z. So we could actually just print out a few copies of the packet, and then that way it's the whole thing.
Yeah, I asked, because I don't think people are gonna bring their computers, and
Yeah.
if they're like me, they don't wanna read it off their phone.
Cause like, we've got it posted, right there, we've got it posted downstairs too.
But would you want everything or just the, well, it probably wouldn't be that much different to just print the whole book, right?
Yeah, cause the book is not 60 pages like it's always been, I think
Yeah.
this time it's like 20-something pages. And so, it's gonna have everything in there, or we could just do the ordinances. So if we had like proclamations, resolutions, ordinances, we could maybe just do those.
And you'll still have them available for overhead if,
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
people have
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, if someone says, hey, can we look at this for a second,
Yeah.
then we can bring it up.
okay.
Yeah, I would say print some ordinances, I don't know that you need to print a ton.
Everybody in each row can share.
Yeah, everybody can share,
Save trees.
really.
Yeah,
The other question, it sounds like you're getting a little more formal with Robert's rules, so I'm curious, which version are you using? 'Cause
we're always trying to learn it, but
7.4B.
what we really need is a parliamentarian to help us get through this, so, but yeah. Yeah, the consent agenda one has come up numerous times, and we keep saying, we just probably need to leave it to the council to pull something forward.
Yeah, and it's because we've in the past let just anybody that wanted to
Usually
pull it forward, but
Yeah.
according to everybody else, it's only the mayor and council that.
So, can I ask a question on that? So, what would be the difference if we allow people to comment on things that are on here? If the councilman wants to pull it forward,
So
there would
in
be
this
more
situation,
discussion, or what?
no, so in this situation, like it would be the community board appointments, like just an example, if someone says, well, no, I wanna pull Rand Bitter forward. And so the audience can't do that, but say, like the councilman wanted to.
Okay, so it said I
So
want to read
councilman
it.
says, I wanna specifically call out Rand Bitter for this meeting, then that situation, then it would move into the public hearing and action items. And then you would actually read out the whole,
The whole
motion
motion, okay.
of saying, we're approving the mayor's
Okay.
appointment of Rand to the finance board, so.
But other things on there, so I'm trying to figure this out too.
So,
So
yeah.
bear with me, because I have to run the meeting.
Cause basically what we're doing in that consent agenda is
Is
saying,
saying-
we're entering these items, and we're
Uh-huh.
approving these items and putting them into record,
Okay,
instead of having, 15
Right.
motions.
which is how we've done
Yeah.
the past, okay.
Just cause I kinda waffled back and forth about putting like the court report and the dispatch report in there for that reason, because
Yeah,
it's basically, we're just saying, here in one motion, we're adopting all of this.
now we don't have the check registry, or you don't call it that, you call it something.
It's in the disbursements.
It's
So
in,
that's what
oh,
that's-
disbursements, okay.
Yeah,
We need to make sure that's still in there, okay.
and then like proclamations, those will get read out, and resolutions will be in the action items, so those will get read out. These are just things that are not necessarily, and this is where I had that suggestion going forward. It's kind of too late in the game right now for these
Mhm.
board appointments, but for future board appointments, I really want people to have a little, like a bio.
Mhm.
Like, so, okay, you wanna be on this board, now give us a bio to put in the book, so
And that
that,
would be in the consent agenda, so people could go
Yeah.
back and look at the minutes, or the book, and see what,
absolutely.
who this person is, yeah, that's a really good
Yeah,
idea.
that way someone can say, well, I don't know Rand Bitter from Adam, so I don't know anything about him.
Yeah.
And then we would have that little blurb. I only keep bringing you up
Because
because
you
you're
look, you're
first on the
sitting in the
list.
front, oh, you are first, that's right.
It's just because your name's at the top of the list.
Oh, are you doing those renewals again today? 'Cause I
What's
don't know
that?
what the agenda is, but.
Yeah, you were doing
Yeah.
renewals tonight,
Yeah,
June, that's what we do in June.
yeah. And that's, because there's a lot of things in here that I think that we should have a little more information on.
Mhm.
And that's where, unfortunately, this consent agenda in this packet right now is so thin because
Mhm.
I didn't have that. If I'd been able to, plan ahead a little bit better, I would have said, hey, we're renewing your membership to this board, give me a little blurb to put in the book. And then we would have had 8 pages of people's
Yeah.
bios.
I think that's a great idea, it's
So
good for the
even-
council too, to
even
know
for
who the
re-upping,
people are.
you
Yeah.
want the bio.
Yeah, because there's people that don't know, and they don't, like, maybe somebody's been on that board for forever, and, we need to know.
Yeah,
It might be helpful for somebody to know that, so.
yeah, no, I agree, I think that's a great idea. So the public hearing we wanna get, and then, can we go through the ordinances one more time?
Sure.
So if I say, can I get a motion to approve by title only, is that we don't have to do that individually, just
No, that's
ordinances,
for all the
period.
ordinances by title,
Mhm.
and then, once that passes and everybody says aye, then you say, okay, first one is ordinance blah blah blah, and then Taylor will say,
Appropriations.
ordinance blah 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 appropriations, this is the budget for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay,
And then, I need to make sure that we don't have a separate motion for each ordinance. That I need to look into.
Okay.
We'll have to, well, I guess we'll.
Yes, there would be,
There
so
has to be a
this is-
separate
Yeah,
one.
so then after he's done the description, then you would say, can I get a motion to approve this ordinance by
by
title?
title only, okay. Okay,
then we'd go
we
to the
do
next one.
The description,
Yeah.
okay.
Good, because I don't wanna go through all those red lines.
No,
It's
Do
hard
you,
to
do you
read
want
red
us to
line
read
out
the
loud.
description, or can we just say what the ordinance is? Like the
It's entirely up to
title.
you.
Oh,
You
I
can
think
say,
it's- yeah.
you have to read the title at the very least, which is
Yeah.
that appropriations from blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then the description is entirely up to you.
Okay.
If you-
I'm gonna go down to where it starts with the whereas.
I
At the
would,
very
I,
end.
I wouldn't even
No.
bother with that, I would
Oh.
just say,
Because an ordinance providing operating and capital budgets for the town of Star Valley Ranch for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30, 2024.
there you go.
would that be enough? Would
Yeah.
that- Okay, so after he does that, then, do I open it up to any other discussion, or?
Yeah.
I do, so
Yeah.
just like I would normally do?
Yeah, yeah.
Have questions from the audience and the council, okay.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be as presenters on the side table. If someone wants to, then we can pull it up so they can see it.
Okay, so we'll have a copy, hard copies ready, but be able to do that, okay.
And then you call for the motion at that time?
We-
Okay, so
After
we don't-
discussion, no, let's see,
Yeah, so then you would say, is there any questions or discussion on this, and then call for the motion.
well, yeah, but I don't think you can do a discussion
You can-
unless there's a motion on the table.
It's gotta be a motion.
So there'd have to be a motion on the table. Well, there would be anyway, if I was saying, can we approve this by title only? You would have a motion in a second.
Yeah,
And then,
So there's-
then you would go into discussion.
Yep.
If you needed to. Question, yes.
A couple of interpretations and suggestions on this, so just one, when you make the blanket, we're gonna approve, I'm looking for a motion to approve these by title only. Somewhere there, you should probably just remind the crowd, because people forget this stuff or never knew it. You know, these ordinances have been posted to the web for the last 10 days for anyone to read. They're posted downstairs. Tonight, the council will be taking action item. May I get a motion to approve by title only? Just remind people that we're not pulling these out of a secret spot. They've been posted for days. And then when you go to the first one and it's Taylor and he's gonna say a few words about the budget one, wouldn't you ask for the motion to approve that in the same sentence?
Can do.
That's what, because that's really all you're doing at that point, is you're saying, we're gonna approve the ordinances that are here. And the first one is,
Well-
frankly, the mayor could read them all, but since you're just reading the title, you can say, the first one is the budget, blah, blah, blah. I'd like a motion to approve that. Just do it at the same time.
Well, he
with
could
each
make the
one.
motion, not
Yeah,
say I would
maybe
like a
that-
motion.
no
He could say, I make a motion to approve, well,
I mean, it's sort
approve
of,
this
my
by
point is,
title, no.
my point is the person that's reading it in some ways being viewed as not just a disinterested randomly chosen council person, but a council person who actually has a point in bringing that ordinance to the table. So it actually makes perfect sense that they would say, it's the budget motion, blah, 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 I move for approval, and then you would say, is there any
Second.
comment, and then take.
Well, we've already moved, so what I would probably end up saying is I would recommend approval.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because if we moved at the beginning to do it by title only, we've already have a move in a second.
well,
First and
for
second.
title only, and then
Title
the,
only.
Yeah,
and
you're only
then
doing
the
title only.
next one would be,
then he
Taylor,
would- he
Taylor,
would
do you wanna
explain.
present
A move for a
this?
vote.
And then he can say, yeah, I move
She'll call for
to approve this ordinance.
No, before.
But then you still have a discussion portion before.
You can't have two
I'll-
moves.
Marty,
Most
I
people
would
who do this
recommend.
have one person just read each of them, and therefore they can take care of the first one is the budget ordinance. And is there any comments or questions on it? I'll call for a vote. It's gonna be easier, I know you guys like to share the burden, but now that there's no reading, it might just be easier to have somebody who's running the meeting read those three things. But just keep that in mind as you go through it tonight, if it gets awkward and you're handing off from the mayor to the person reading it to someone else to
Yeah.
call for a vote, for someone else to get solicited.
It might be easier
It
for
might
you.
just
Yeah,
get
that's fine.
confusing
Yeah, I
amongst
can
yourselves. And I'll bet you if you listen to most videos, you're gonna find that there's one person kind of running the team through the ordinance approvals.
Yeah, cause I think the few that I listened to, that's exactly what happened, is
That's why
that
they
it's
do
the
it.
mayor.
the mayor was running the meeting
Yeah.
and said,
And then they say, it gives her the natural opportunity to say, is there any public comment on that ordinance, the budget ordinance? Okay, I call for a vote of the town council, and that way you don't end up handing off and then having awkward moments, but, you know, try it this way if you want, and then I would recommend you might fall to this one to avoid just
Yeah.
unnecessary.
And I don't have a problem
clutter.
doing it.
and I think that's maybe
I'm
how
used
I
to
have
doing
it
it.
in your script.
You can't
My
call,
script
you
is
can't
over there.
move.
Got a comment?
Okay, Marty, go.
If I remember my Robert's rules, when you call for the motion to do it by title only, the council has a period of discussion where if one of the members objects to all of them by title, if they wanna have just one or two read out, they can object or make that suggestion, and then you can either decide to do that or take a vote. I would recommend then, if you've got one council member, even just one, that you just say, okay, we'll read that one, so that you don't
And I
have
think
any-
that's how the videos. that
I wasn't
listened
sure
to.
if that's what I heard in the presentation, so I wanted, and that's kind of why I asked which version of Robert's
Right,
rules you're
yeah.
using, because I've read about 5 different versions, and I think the last time I looked, there was about 30.
I know.
So is there
I have
a,
the version.
And there is a reason to know
okay,
which set of Robert's
No,
rules you're
let me-
using.
Look at what, I have a script.
Your intention isn't to.
Yeah, and I do
by
actually
title
have it
only,
as
but
councilman will
objects.
read ordinance by title / summary, and then motion to approve
Ordinance,
ordinance.
motion for ordinance to be read by title Moved by the councilman, second by councilman, all in favor.
So Marty, is there an
Councilman
actual
versions.
Councilman
Robert's
will read.
Rules version
Those are the
4.31, or is there a number?
There are
Full-blown?
tons.
I know, but
And really, the proper way to do it, I don't know if this council has ever done it, going back to the first year of the council. The proper way to do it is for the council to decide, and take a vote, that our meetings, and when you say our meetings, it'd be all meetings, including this one, will be operated under this version of Robert's Rules.
It's, you know, I don't think, it doesn't say in our, because it's in code already, the town. But I don't- it doesn't say which version.
Yeah,
Just
you
says
kinda wanna
Robert's
do
rules.
that, because there are conflicting versions of Robert's Rules. I did this in high school, so we're going back a couple of weeks. But I was able to tie up student council whenever they didn't specify which version they were using, because there are conflicts. What's a point of order, what's, you know,
Yeah,
All
we
kinds
do
of
have that in ordinance, but it's just generic. We adopt Robert's Rules of Orders, I think is exactly what
you
it
should
says.
probably, I mean, you don't have to do it tonight, I'm sure.
Oh, good, no.
There's nobody that's gonna raise a bitch, but just to cover your backsides, you probably should pick a version, and it really doesn't matter which one. They all do the same thing.
Okay, we'll have to look at that. We'll put that on that giant list.
Yeah,
All
'cause
right, I
did
think
have-
I have the ordinance thing figured out.
Yes, I did have it in that
Remember
script.
You're doing that part, not
Let's see.
setting the motion.
Say ordinances by motion, and then it says councilman will read ordinance by title summary, motion to approve ordinance. So it looks like I do it for each individual one. Okay, we can't do it all the whole time.
So you do it by, approved by title instead of reading the whole ordinance, and then each ordinance.
So there's
does-
two ordinances, there's two sets of motions, yeah, one to do it by title only, and then the councilman will read the summary, and then there'd be another one to approve the ordinance.
So you got two motions on the floor?
No, no, so you'll
You're
have,
gonna
the
vote on
first
the
one will
first
say,
You're gonna vote on the
motions,
first one.
can I have a motion to read, to
approve
approve
by
ordinance
Okay,
by
the
title?
second,
By
and then-
title.
And then
vote.
second,
We
and then
vote.
vote, and then
We
the
vote.
next one is, say Taylor reads, this is the budget, for fiscal year 23-24. And then the mayor will say, can I get a motion to approve this ordinance?
But do you have to open with a motion in order to bring that to the floor?
No, she's calling for the motion,
I'm gonna call for
so
a
he's
motion.
just reading the
Call for
summary.
motion after discussion.
He's gonna do the summary, then the motion and second, and then
Okay.
we can open it to discussion.
Right,
Usually, you have to bring something up, somebody has to, move and second, then you have discussion.
that's what she
Right,
just
that's
said.
exactly what I
There's-
said.
On that, there's differences in Robert's Rules. Some you do it before the second, others,
Yeah.
you do it after the second, but before somebody calls a question.
Okay. That's all.
So,
And we've
I
always
mean,
done
this
it
is-
after.
Yeah, but this is why you want a version.
Okay,
Okay.
so yeah. The only difference than the way we're doing it now than the way we were doing it before is that we're gonna call to do it by title
Yeah.
first. Once we can get that approved or not approved, then we'll
You're
go
gonna
back
speed your
to
meetings up a
title,
lot.
summary.
That
motion.
was kind of the hope. Just
Oh,
because,
sure.
because especially where we have some of those ordinances, and I can, just looking back to when I first started, and we were doing the building code, and it was, the ordinance was this
Oh, yeah.
thick. And
And we
it's
were
like,
reading the whole
we're here
thing.
for hours talking
Yeah.
about that, and so if we can just approve it in one fell swoop. And I'd also like to, I'm going to, unfortunately, I'm going on vacation starting tomorrow, but as soon as I get back, I wanna look into how we actually, cause we do it by 3 readings, but by the 3rd reading, all of the changes from first reading are missing. Cause we say, okay, we've changed all this, like, we're deleting a whole section in Title III, and by the time you get to 3rd reading, that's gone, and nobody knows that it's gone. If they didn't look at
Yes,
reading
just the
1 and reading
council,
2.
yeah.
So I'm gonna look and see how some other communities do it, but I really wanna advocate that even if we change stuff between first and second reading, we don't take out what we changed in first reading, we leave those changes in there and just put the new
I
changes
think
in
it,
second
yeah,
reading.
it
So
should,
that, because what happens is I send it to the codification, and they don't know that we've deleted that whole section based on what we have. And so if I can, send 3rd reading over there, and it's got every change that we made for all 3 readings, then they'll know what they need to change.
yeah, I
Be
think that
be
makes
a little
sense.
careful on that one, cause if you do that on the budget, you're gonna have 3 sets of changes on almost everything.
And that's not,
But the codification, it's not codified. The
no,
budget.
no, so the budget is not
Budget isn't
codified.
codified.
Budget is a completely different animal.
That's a different type of ordinance,
Yeah,
so.
just the stuff that we actually
All
have
the
to
other
codify.
stuff, it makes sense. It seems like a long time ago, we just would turn it to black, or we would still have it crossed out, but it would be black, so the council would say, okay, we've already passed this section, but
Yeah, and
let's figure out a better way to do it. I think that's kind
I
of
think it
where
would be
we're at
less
today.
confusing by the time someone gets to third reading to say, oh, here's everything that they've changed.
Yeah,
Typical is by strike through
yeah,
with red
yeah.
and underline the change in blue. So if you're adding the language, you do it in, this is typical, you do it in blue. And if you're deleting language, you do a red strike through.
And that's what we do
That's what
now,
we do.
but unfortunately, what we were doing before is that, so we're,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we have a whole sentence that we're strike through in red for first reading, and then we get to second reading, well, we took that out, so it's gone.
Yeah,
And
it
then
should
second
stay.
reading, you don't know that it's gone. That's
Yeah.
what I'm advocating,
Yeah,
is that we
no,
keep
you're right.
all of those changes through all
Yeah,
three
you
readings.
keep that, but it's stricken through now.
Yeah,
If you
Is
use
that
the
what-
track changes
In
and.
black. it
but
can
that
be
doesn't work when you
black.
put it, like I posted on the board.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm saying that, like, the ordinance that we're reading for first reading tonight, when we get to second reading, it's gonna look almost exactly the same
can't
unless we change
Print
something.
it with show markup on it.
I don't know.
Okay. I'll tinker around, see if
It
that
should,
will
if
help.
you're doing it in Word or.
But basically, I don't want to, because I want to, I still want to, like, we get to third reading and it looks, every change that we made in first reading and in second reading is also there in
Right,
third
I
reading.
think you might be able to do it in there, but I'm not
You can
that
do it anywhere.
versed in
You
it,
can
so.
try
Yeah,
changes from one.
Word will do it.
Yeah,
But, and that's fine for posting on the website, what I'm saying is if I print it,
It should still print
It'll
that way.
print as well, there's just a toggle, it says print with markup for everything.
Okay. All right, I think, does everybody have it? In the public comment section, I think we already talked about that, but that's really the resident, and then we have some residents that want answers right away from the council.
yeah, that was the
And
other, that was the other,
Can't do
gonna be the
that.
other main point to point out is that this is just for them to talk, just let them talk. Because what happens is that, you may get one council person that says, no, we'll take care of that next week. But that other
no.
3 councilmen didn't get to talk about that or agree to that, and so you have to be careful not to make any promises without,
Yeah, so it's better not to. I mean, if you watch the other cities, they
they
don't,
don't say,
they
they may
don't
say
say a
thank
word.
you.
Thank you,
And
the
that's
mayor
it.
usually says thank you. And that's it.
But sometimes the audience is asking for a response, and in order to maintain decorum, we can't sit there, with the mouth shut, not answering, because that'll cause discussion and fights, whatever, but.
Yep.
Yeah, the mayor could probably say something along the lines of, we'll discuss it,
Okay.
and we'll deal with it later, but we're not
Better
dealing with
see
it.
me in my office.
Yeah. But
The
yeah,
woodshed.
that's,
Yeah.
so will you have the actual ordinances up when we get to that part and scroll through them, but we just won't, well, the plan is just reading the titles really, and then,
So, let me actually show you what I have got for her tonight, to run,
yeah.
cause this was the idea, is to not have, that's not what I wanted.
You need to put that up on the screen, or?
I mean, I think it'll be a little different. Do you think at the beginning of this, we need to
It's gonna be a little confusing
explain it?
tonight, but
Yeah, or,
I would maybe at least set it up that we're going with a new
the new format.
format.
And this will kind of fit in with if we use, what's it called, Granicus?
Yes,
Yeah, it's a program that we're buying for the short-term rentals managing, but they've also got another one for Kristen as part of it that would make minutes better, quite a few things that would be much better.
so this is what I've got, kind of set up for her to run, so this is how you'll see it, is just a regular meeting. And then I've got the consent agenda on there when the mayor gets to the consent agenda. And then, the public hearing and action items. So there's only 6 slides in this, basically, because I do have a little bit of a summary under each of these.
Oh, you do?
I didn't wanna get too big just because, she has a lot of trouble being able to, the computer is old. And instead of carrying 6 laptops around the building, I'm trying to keep one in one spot, but, we have the ability to, if someone says, no, I actually wanna see, then we can, but right now, this is kind of just what we've got. So I've got the mayor and council section, and I gotta rearrange
I
this.
was gonna say public comment should be sooner.
Yeah, I'm glad you looked at that, yeah.
Yeah, so
You
we
had
made
to
that
fix-
decision after I had made this,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
but
I
that's
like it up
basically
front.
it.
Okay.
So
This is
that,
great, Kristen.
so that it's really simple for her, simple for the audience, they're not trying to read a novel on the screen kind of thing.
Yeah, I do think having a few copies of the ordinances floating around would be printed
And that,
out. would
we can
probably-
absolutely do that, I do that with
It's a
the
good
agenda,
idea.
so I don't have a problem doing that at all.
So Tom Stewart asked if we put his thing first. I says, it's beyond me, but I think you should come and listen to the whole thing anyway.
Who wanted to do?
Tom Stewart, he's the light recombination.
Oh, okay, I'm like, who is that? Oh,
Is this a lot over on Hillside?
Yeah.
yeah,
And are they Stewart family?
Tom Stewart and Deb,
I don't know, who are they, I don't know if they're related or not.
no, it's not the people that developed
It's
this.
not the,
No.
they're not
No,
related
no,
to them.
It's different
Oh,
spelling,
different, yeah.
Stuart.
Okay, because I might change my mind about how I feel about it.
It's right across the road from you. pretty
I
much.
know, but I've never met them.
So, just one more question, Crystal, on the announcements and proclamations, announcement would be upcoming meetings or,
Announcements would be something big, like you have with the
Aye.
fire thing. So something like that, that's not necessarily like, oh, we have an upcoming event saying,
Okay.
this is you saying, hey, we have definitely got confirmation from Silver Star that they're going to do the
Okay.
fiber, and also we have somebody here that's
so I'll introduce
representing
Eric,
So-
okay,
And that's when you would say that,
okay.
And then,
Yeah, he's
um,
first, okay.
yeah. And probably going forward, like I said, it's kinda late in the game now,
Yeah.
I will actually, unfortunately found out about this yesterday after
Yeah,
I already
Eric,
posted
yeah.
everything, but, I'd have him listed in that.
But I'll at least just introduce him, and if people wanna talk to him after, he can do that, which is pretty much what he wanted to do, so.
Yeah, and going forward, the minutes are gonna be a little bit more detailed, than they are. I'm not a big fan of the format that they are right now, so, they're gonna be, a little more detailed. I just need to actually sit and work on it.
So if we decide to go with the Granicus, it's like, I think Jackson, I don't know who else uses it, but you can actually go on and look at the video from the meeting, and then it'll have the agenda on the side. So if you wanna just see the section where you're talking about an
It's
ordinance,
indexed.
you can just go to that section. I mean, it's really cool.
And it also has-
2 hours.
2 hours of meeting, yeah, like me, I'm trying to fast forward, you know?
Yeah, it's really
It's
great,
very
and on
cool.
top of that, for things like, some of even the workshop ones, they have, like, it creates a little module, basically, and I can give access to that module to everybody. And so if you have something you wanna add in there, you can, or, oh, I don't like that there, let's move it here, or, it really has a lot of collaboration built into it. And that's what I'm kind of looking forward to, so.
Yeah.
And like, it'll build the minutes straight out of that, like, there won't be any separate, it'll just
That'd
be,
be so
okay.
nice.
Because as the meeting's going on, you can say, well, here's how everybody voted, it'll put that into the minutes, and
That's
that's,
so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that demo if you can.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely have you included on
Yeah,
that.
I wanna see that too. That'll be fun. I'm excited, okay. I think, any other questions on tonight?
Is it okay if I mention Safety Day and Farmers Market? We had discussed the dates and times, that all was good.
Absolutely.
Cool,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense right there.
And obviously, it's gonna be weird the first time we do it, so.
I know, I'm gonna be looking over at you going, what do we do now?
You can talk about Firewise, or there's been enough stuff in the newsletter, we don't need to talk about Firewise.
Well, when we get to that part of this meeting, we need to talk about Firewise again, unfortunately, because there's
questions.
NRB is confused about what we published in the newsletter, which seems to be going back to the way we did it before and not how we did it last year.
Oh,
Oh,
So,
that's okay.
yeah, yeah. I think Kristen has a couple of emails, she has some emails scheduled to go out so people know when it is.
Well,
When they can put their stuff out, that's the
Yeah.
biggest problem we have.
that's the emails that I've got scheduled for next week, the week after, just say the dates that they can start putting stuff out, the last day that they're allowed to put stuff out,
Yeah.
when we'll be picking up, and kind of the rules of don't put your kitchen cabinets in there and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so.
Or
tiles.
your treated wood off your old brush.
Yeah,
yeah, the confusion part was where we
Construction
said
materials.
that you have to be a registered participant in the program,
Right.
and in order to do that, you have to get Patty to come out, and you have to get her inspected, and you have to have a certificate here at Town Hall.
Yeah,
Whereas last year, you just put your stuff out. like,
Yeah, we pick up from everybody.
right,
Because that question came up, we had a lot of trees down last week, so there's piles of tree
Yeah.
tops and things already out on the road.
so we may
So
wanna
people are
clarify
asking
that.
Every lot picked up.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
Yeah, but not until the second, so if they have it out earlier, they're gonna have to move it, so that'll be
They
the
won't-
issue.
It won't happen.
Not unless, yeah, we
So
get
we'll
somebody
have
out to make
figure
them
out how to
move it.
clarify that.
We have a burn pile at the shops that people can put their stuff in.
Yeah, they just have to.
We don't really publicize it much,
Two of
but
them are
we do
widows
have
that
it.
I know of, so they're not.
I
Yeah,
don't think Willie wants people driving in there and putting.
Well,
their stuff-
anybody that's asked about that, I've had them talk to Willie.
she will, yeah, and I do
Because
too.
most of the
I
time,
refer
he's
it to 'em.
not that big of a deal, but he
Or
needs to
they're
know
asking me
about
and
it
I tell
first.
them.
Yeah.
There's not that many people that do it, honestly. They would
But
just,
there needs to be some.
wait till we
surveillance
pick it
of
up.
Because otherwise, everything will be in that pile.
Yeah, and that's why I make sure that Willie knows about it, so that people aren't dropping off their couches and mattresses.
no, they just leave them on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Or their mattresses, or whatever. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. All right, so back to our agenda. So thanks, Kristen, for helping us get through this. Will you help us get through this tonight? So the council liaison assignments, I'm just kind of an update from everybody on your boards and how we're doing with the master plan and NRB. I think the 20th we have down for, if that, does the 20th work for everyone for a joint meeting with NRB? Before we
At
put it on the
2:00.
calendar? At 2 o'clock?
I think so.
Uh,
That's a Tuesday, right?
That's next week,
Yeah.
Yes,
Tuesday.
it is next Tuesday,
It is next Tuesday?
I'm going
and
down.
I'm sorry, what time did you want?
2:00 is what.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to after in the morning and get my windshield wiper fixed, but hopefully I'll be done by then.
Okay. I mean, if it doesn't, we can push it back to July, but if it works,
No,
then
20th.
we'll just assume, try to get them done if we can.
I'd rather get it done this month, but, okay, yeah, that's fine.
She's like my poor patients.
No, I'm like, it's
Oh,
just
sorry,
like
oh,
one
sorry.
I had to
I
resend.
will, have
I have
to,
to do my volunteer job.
I know, right?
so I
It's
won't
okay.
be here,
Oh, that's right, you won't be here.
but Gina,
Gina can do minutes, okay.
2 o'clock?
Yeah, 2.
there won't be any minutes, cause just like the
Oh,
water
it's
board,
the
but
water
it's
board.
just
It'll be,
recording it.
NRB will be doing the minutes, just like Water
Yeah,
Board did.
Yeah,
Okay.
we probably want it recorded though.
Yeah, okay. And that's
How long
good.
do they usually come?
Why did it
About
not
2
go?
hours?
Yeah, not more than that.
Okay.
So that'll be, the 20th at 2 PM. I gotta write that down. Kristen put it on the calendar, so I don't have to worry about it. So, okay, so we can just quickly go around if you can kind of give me your idea what's going on with your boards and how we're doing with the master plan, if it's okay.
I was afraid you were gonna say that.
But
I can say the
Kirsten
water-
doesn't have a
Water
board. I
board,
just-
water board met yesterday with the council. I need to repeat what's going on there. I think,
Yeah,
it has a good meeting, and, I think, they definitely want to see themselves continue
okay.
with some different, assignments and interfaces. So,
P and Z and,
P and Z, there are 4 new single-family homes and 1 garage, I believe, that will be dealt with tomorrow. And then at a later point in the summer, we're going to have our first lot combination that's gonna be split again.
Ooh, oh boy, a lot D combination.
Yeah.
that's an interesting one, cause their water fee is,
it's gonna be big.
it's huge.
They have to pay the.
It's gonna
Well,
be,
Gotta pay the
it's even
two-
more interesting than that.
Okay. That
Because
one
the
will-
intent of the double lot owner was they wanted to build a garage with a living area above it on the lot and then build the house later. So in order to pull that off, they're gonna have to split the lot back up again and put a 1,200 square foot living space above a garage, which is too big for the garage. This one's gonna get interesting, so it's,
So,
it's coming down the road.
is the living space, it says 1,200 on the main level.
Yes.
Is the garage gonna be the main level, or is?
The garage will be the main level, but the ordinance is saying that it's 1,200 square feet of living space measured by the footing on the ground. So if it's 1,200 feet
Above
garage,
the ground,
then it's 1,200 feet up the second level, they're still gonna be okay. The problem is 1,200 square feet is too large for a garage
oh boy.
in
All
the
right.
outer ordinance, so this one's gonna be fun.
Oh, good, we don't have to worry about that one.
So they do know that they can't combine it back together again because we're not allowed to have two family dwellings on the same lot.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Accessory building.
So this one could get interesting real quick.
Yeah, it will.
And,
All right.
And then we've got the joint meeting on the 28th with the P and Z board. They are also looking at whether or not we need to move to the 2024 or 2020
What's the next one?
IRB and
Every
IDC.
3 years, so they're
21 now.
18,
21.
20, yeah, we're on 18 now,
And we did get but the books for 21.
20.
Okay, this is 21, and they're looking at moving to.
or are we ready?
Yeah, they
Okay.
can't adopt 2024 until those are actually passed.
Yeah.
And you have 3 ordinances that are being looked at to
Okay,
move forward.
we need to go, have them plan on going through those with council, because they're huge, they're big,
They're big ones.
and there's a lot of changes, so. Not a lot of clarifications, that's a better term,
Mhm.
things
Lot
that
of
we've had
clarifications.
challenges in.
The 28th is at 5.
Yes.
Right?
3.
3 for us.
Oh, we are doing 3.
Their regular
Three,
meeting is
and then
5.
then they'll have their regular meeting at 5.
Yeah,
Finance Advisory Board, you're gonna hear from in just a minute.
so, okay.
And we're still chopping up the master plan
Okay,
to see what needs to be updated.
okay, cool.
So I have a question about the P and Z ordinance.
Mhm.
I mean, I know we're eliminating the section on flow process planning and zoning. But it's in there now, and maybe I'm just not reading it right, but it makes it sound like development applications have to be voted upon by the town council.
Development
It
application.
says a completed project or development application is placed on the calendar of the P and Z board, who then reviews the merits and deficiencies at that meeting. If the application is not tabled or sent back to the applicant for further work, it is voted upon with or without conditions and sent to the town council. The forwarded application goes on to the next council meeting agenda for approval or denial.
So what is it development, is that, I wonder what the definition of that is, like a
I don't know.
subdivision?
I don't know.
It's not a
It's
house.
just, it's like, that's section
Yeah, I
three
know.
point zero eight, which is right after
I'm
the
betting-
planning and zoning procedures.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which,
I'm betting that was a carry forward from a large town, that somebody put in this one. So in
yeah,
case we get huge, we wanna develop a commercial downtown center.
Because right now, no, like the single family home permits, none of that comes to the
Nope.
council.
No, they're not about, I wouldn't call that a development. I mean, that's
yeah.
zoning
To
has
me,
already
that's
been
a
established.
subdivision or a,
But
yeah.
if we're gonna come in here and buy, 40 acres here and develop some more
Yeah.
housing and stuff, then that whole development.
Yeah, that would.
Approve.
That always
be
comes to the
different.
council.
It was just,
Yeah.
I was just confused
That
when I was
is weird.
reading it. I was like, well, we don't see anything from P and Z,
Yeah, I
so.
think the last one we saw that was dealing with the development is that one up on Muddy Stream,
Right.
where they decided they wanted to be annexed to the town.
And that got
Yeah,
shot
so
down
I'm not sure
a while ago.
if you have to
Well, yeah.
annex
Didn't
first,
want to pay for the water.
annex into the town, and then approve the development, that whole process of, they come in with an idea, I like to build these houses, and they want our water, so we have to annex them. And that requires all kinds of, the water board would have to say, yeah, we got water for it,
Right.
and the finance board has to say.
Yeah, it's pretty long, there's a.
There's a,
It's just straight.
I'll
Probably
give you an
it's-
example of
Well,
one
that's,
that,
I think that's why that section, we're all like, this, first of all, it didn't make sense where it was at, but if, yeah,
I'll give you an example of one that may be
Didn't make
coming
sense.
down the road. That development on Muddy Stream has got a proposal in their long-term plan to tie into Vista West,
Mm-hmm.
right there at that 90-degree turn. And, I'm opposed to it, I'll tell you that one right now.
that's not the right place to tie in.
no, but we would have full say on that. We have that in ordinance, and they had asked me for that ordinance a few years ago.
Well,
But
it's
they're
still
so
in their-
far off, I mean,
It's still in their master,
no, I know,
so.
yep, it is, they
Good
were
luck.
going to tie in two places, right?
Yep.
They wanted to tie in two places, I mean, doesn't mean they're going to. Only if the council allows it, so, but I don't know when that would happen, so. Okay, so, I think we're good on
They got a big new
the,
sign up
on our-
advertising.
yeah, I know, but they've been up there a long time.
I don't think
That's
there
a
was
new
many
one.
of them the last time.
I see they're building over there, but where are they
They're
planning
doing,
to put water?
I think they want,
They drilled a well.
they're on, they've got them on the listings, they're like $350 a townhouse. So, anyway,
They drilled a well up on the east end of the
Yeah, they have a well.
property.
Okay.
And their biggest problem right now is the county is on them, so that there cannot be any nitrates on the other side of Muddy Stream. And since they're gonna be all septic tanks, that could be interesting.
Well, that was our challenge with them, so, which was crazy, it was the same issue, that they could have tied into Stewart's, because Stewart's is right there, but it didn't wanna pay, and that's not how it works. You have to
Now, I asked Stewart's when I was on the EDB
Yeah,
thinking about this,
Uh-huh.
and I asked her, okay, what are you gonna charge for hookup? And Tim says, I have no idea.
oh yeah,
It's a
Tim
good
will tell you a lot, trust me.
He said, well, we should think about a sewer district. And I said, well,
I just think that it's gonna be forced at some point, but hopefully, long gone. It's very expensive. All right, so we're good?
Just for information to P and Z,
Yep,
the county P and Z board is considering sewer district,
yep,
for,
this area.
the valley. Regional, they wanna do, someday, been hearing this for 10 years, but they want to go to a regional system. Because they have a lot of problems in the county, a lot more than we have up here, so.
Any idea how that would be financed?
No, I mean, just our town.
Tying individual homes into the sewer
It's
system?
probably 8 years ago that we had that study done, and it was 60 million for us to,
I think,
Just for us.
I think
and that
our,
doesn't include what the homeowners would have to.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I'm getting at.
That's what the town's portion, yeah.
That's why we're on the sewer.
Yeah, I'm just,
I'm selling
yeah.
before that happens.
That's a good
I hate to
first
say it,
question.
but yeah, the minute they say, okay, now we're all switching to sewer, I'm just gonna see, quit my job. I don't
Yeah,
wanna have to deal with
yeah,
it.
but they would do it in your house too, so. That is what they want to do. But like I said, I've been hearing it for a long time, so don't get too excited about it. Not yet, anyway. I think someday we'll probably be forced to,
Yeah, I don't think we'll, that's all we're doing.
but not now.
I'll be pushing up daisies by then, hopefully.
Yeah, Grover
Yeah.
wouldn't be a problem, that one's nice and flat, it's up here that I wouldn't wanna have to deal with it.
Yeah, there's
Try to figure out the
multiple pump
logistics
stations.
of all the lift stations that you'd have to have.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh yeah, you were
Oh,
very
yeah.
good. Yeah, it was
Or
expensive.
even the slope of the lines down the roads is too steep.
Way too steep.
You'd have.
So you'd have to have collection stations and then lift stations in order to get them moved right, and the logistics behind it would be a nightmare. Some engineer is probably salivating at being able to design that.
Yeah.
And charge for that, but
Let me
I
just,
design it.
let me just say, the last time I met with the planning and zoning director for the county, an engineer was in his office and proceeded to tell me they had a new way it would be cheaper to do the sewer system. And he was gonna send it to me, but I haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, I haven't had a clue.
yeah, I'm sure there's all kinds of new technology that's behind it, but
Yeah.
still.
Okay.
That was
Let's
6
see.
months ago.
So matters from the mayor and council, of course, I have a
Mayor,
list of my.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go
I have
ahead.
a few things from NRB.
Oh, sorry, I just totally skipped over you.
So, we talked a little bit about Firewise earlier, and I just we'll make sure we
Oh,
can
yeah.
clarify that we're gonna pick up everybody, right? But you can also get Patty to come out and do an
Yes.
assessment, okay,
Yes.
I'll just make it more clear.
Okay.
Paid for.
I talked with the NRB a while back. We pick up with Firewise the clippings in July, but I'll be honest with you, my grandfather was a farmer, and he said everything had to be pruned in the spring.
Yeah.
So the stuff sits there for months. Is there any chance of moving
Well,
up the
it's-
pickup?
NRB doesn't make that
They'd have to
decision.
keep it on their lot. We don't
Yeah.
want it on the town right of ways before.
Right, I think we said before July 3rd,
Yeah, that gives Willie a chance to at least grade the roads.
yeah,
After
so
the
they
snow or
can put
whatever.
stuff other than in the right
Trim
of
and
way,
row.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge because we've done it earlier and people complain they want it later, and, we changed the week
It's
several
almost-
times.
Summer guys.
It's been it's been consistently the third week of July for quite a while.
For pickup.
And, yeah, and it's just, I mean, I don't know what it costs the town to do it, it's pretty crazy. And so,
It's
once a
probably
year
not
is
as-
really all we can do it,
As bad anymore because we're not renting equipment for it anymore,
Because we
but
have the equipment, okay.
yeah.
Could you go back twice a year? Like, the best time is in May, when the leaves aren't out.
yeah, and all the
it's
people
easy,
that aren't
mightily.
here in May are the ones
They're
that
the
complain
ones-
about they
yeah.
wanted
We
it
used
in
to do it in
July.
October or something too, when the leaves fall out.
No, we never did it, well, at least
Or
not
maybe
in the
it's
last
August,
10
I don't know.
years,
There used to be twice a year.
yeah.
The last time
We
was-
may have done it twice a year for a little while, but, that was when you had to be on Firewise. And so what was happening is we were sending employees out to mark piles, then the residents started marking piles, their own. I mean, it was just a fiasco, and so we just decided to pick up everybody.
We went out one year where we had the
So-
actual list and we made sure,
Oh, I know.
don't pick this up, these guys aren't on
That
the
was
list.
very cost effective.
Yeah, and then people griped and complained, well, you picked my neighbors up and, well, yeah,
Or
'cause
they
you're
drag
on
it to
the
their
list.
neighbor's house.
Oh, they
I mean,
did
it was
that
just
too.
chaos.
So
So
it's
we
easier to
decided
just
not
do
to do
everybody.
it. We just do everybody.
Alright, well, I'll make a sort of clarification
So,
in the
yeah,
next
I mean,
letter.
if, you know, I just don't know that we can do it twice a year.
Yeah,
And
okay.
get any, it takes them a good week, every single employee,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
The other couple things real quick, so
Sure.
Arbor Day was Saturday, it went really well.
Good.
We had House District 22 Representative Andrew Byron came and he brought his
Oh,
whole
nice.
family. And they helped plant trees and they stayed for the whole shebang, so it went
good for them.
went really well.
do we have, pictures?
We got some pictures, I can
Yeah.
send you some
On
pictures.
Facebook?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, good,
So
yeah,
I'll
the trail
send
crew
them to you.
had a bunch up.
And then the last thing is I sent to the council just on Sunday, I think it was, the latest version of the Town of Star Valley Ranch National Forest Access sign, the giant 36 by
Oh,
48
yes.
sign. We incorporated some of the updates you had recommended. Not all of them made it on there because it's just difficult with the real estate of the sign, the size of it and the verbiage and everything. So I don't know what the council wants to do at this
better.
point. If we're good with it, we wanna roll with it, we wanna say, you know what, maybe that's not such a great idea, let's not do it. So just whenever we get a chance to kinda decide about it, so I can
So-
let NRB know
So
whether,
the sign is in response to people are lost or what? Is that why we're putting it
Wasn't
up?
that part of that was part of that came from the service, I thought, was that they needed better
Yes.
direction
Center markings, for
yes,
sure.
it was
Yeah,
like
to
just
the
kind
trails.
of more information as people come into town to
Mhm.
direct them where to go.
So where is this gonna go?
It would, potentially go somewhere right across from Town Hall here.
Yeah, that's
Not
what I
sure exactly,
recommend, cause
right,
down there
yeah.
is just too much going
Yeah,
on.
cause like where I did put you on, you probably just haven't gotten a
I
chance to
did
look at it.
just-
Yeah, cause
Yeah.
it shows like, Vista West, so you would wanna have the sign before you get to Vista
Sure.
West,
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Makes sense.
I thought it looked good. The only thing might be like Prater Canyon, cause that gets a little confusing, cause you can't just follow Vista West, right? Don't you have to cut off to get to Prater
Up Cedar,
Canyon? The-
yeah,
Oh, sure.
there would have to be some other sign up there,
Signage.
actually.
Yeah,
so
you have to
true.
go to Cedar Way
Right
or
now,
something.
you go up Vista, then you have to cut off on Cedar and go up over and now that's blocked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So in order to get to Prater now, you gotta go up North Forest.
right, and cut through
Yeah.
easement, yeah.
Well, they don't be
Normally-
blocked forever though, so.
and maybe would it be better to have, I mean, I actually think this looks good, but
Mhm.
if it would be better to have separate signs for each, I didn't know. I don't know.
I don't know, at this
Maybe
point,
just
so
a smaller one up on Cedar, saying trailhead this way.
Mm-hmm.
we
That
could
would
also
probably
do
get
it that
on.
way instead of one giant one.
You can put small ones up
Well,
on.
But you gotta get them
looks
up there, that's the
good, though.
problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big one will at least get them to the road.
This makes sense here and then just have a smaller one
I
up
mean,
on
up
Cedar
there.
that says.
Personally, I think we should send them up Alpine Way and over this way.
And I
Go by the
think
beers.
the other
Yeah.
part of the discussion was
I think
that
it's fine.
the town already has a sign budget, so this wouldn't be something NRB would spend their money on.
Correct. We do have a sign
But
budget.
Craig could coordinate with Willie as far as getting it ordered, cause I think Craig Adler's the one that's been doing all the legwork on
Yeah, and I don't
getting this
know-
designed.
Yeah, I don't know where does he have an idea of where he wants to order it, or?
Yes, I think so, he's got, and I think it was a few $100s or something like
Yeah,
that, it
sure,
wasn't
they're
a
not
lot.
too that bad.
Okay, but, so everyone's okay with, we can go ahead and move forward with this? Is
Well,
that-
I
The reason,
thought-
the reason I
I'm
suggested
fine with
that
it.
the NRB need to pay for it, because the trails and the development and stuff is all NRB funded. And so why wouldn't the sign be funded by the same effort?
We had that, sort of a little go-around on that in email a month
Yeah,
or so
That's
ago.
why.
And the mayor had said that the town had a
We do
sign
have funding
budget,
for
so.
it.
Well, they got funding, but is that the right use of that
Well,
funding?
it's
Well,
in the
NRB
town
has
right
a,
away.
yeah, it's in the remote town right away, it's a town sign,
Yeah.
so I
It
don't
would be
know.
the
what
town
it's-
maintaining it.
Yeah, they would have to install it.
Yeah,
Dave had a comment.
The idea of having a second sign up there, because that's the only one you have to take another turn, I think you guys should just approve it and do it too.
Yeah.
Doing this one.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if you.
okay. No, I think that makes sense,
Yeah,
because
the
you're right,
others are more
otherwise they're gonna
direct.
drive up Vista West and
Just
now
gotta
where
get
do
lost
I
on
go?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the one
it's
that
a
you
big-
don't
Okay.
get lost on.
Okay,
Great,
great.
I will,
The rest are pretty easy.
we can actually, since it'll be a joint meeting at NRB next week, if they have
Okay.
more questions, I'm sure they can ask, so.
But you,
Do we have a trails map on our webpage?
I thought we did.
It's a good idea.
I thought the last time it came up, I asked about, and we did, cause I got the
I thought you did
PDF
too.
from Craig and put it up there, so.
Okay.
Or do you guys possibly have something in here, if like somebody's coming into town, can they stop and get it too?
Yeah, in fact, I
Okay.
had somebody ask about,
And
last week,
downstairs.
Oh, cool.
called yesterday about it, that, not only do we have a paper map of just the trails in the town, but we also have the little book that does area trails, and
Oh, that's cool.
the proceeds from selling that book actually go to the trails.
Yeah,
So.
is it the one that's like a little thicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the
30
real
best
thin one,
hikes or
okay,
something.
yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't think you would.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I have for now.
So we do have, no, that's okay, I'm so sorry. Just, you know, so anyway, so the next is, mayor council. Any matters from the mayor and council, and unfortunately I have a lot, so, I'm gonna let Dave go first. Everybody ended up in my pile, so okay, Dave go first and then Rand, and then I just have some updates, so mine will be easy. Do you need to be over here, or you got this?
No, I'll be right here, it'll
Sure?
be fine,
Okay.
assuming I can get this on the screen, if not, I'll just draw on the board a little bit.
while he's getting ready, Rue, I was talking to Dan Doctor about across the road there, and he says he often walks those aspens on the other side there. Greg Greenhill says that's
Public trust land up there?
My
It is.
mistake, trust line, it was a square mile.
So the question is,
It's 45 miles?
should,
40
should
acres.
NRB start figuring out how to
To do something
get,
like
yeah,
access?
yeah.
I can ask him.
Which portion is it?
Should
Is
be
it
one section.
Right across the
Should
road.
be one section.
Yeah, I
It
thought
is.
that was
It's
the-
one section and it's leased by the
It's
council.
School
leased.
section,
There's
it's
a
called
gate
public,
off
public
the road.
access.
Oh, is what they call it.
Yeah.
It's unlocked.
So to answer a 5 minute ago question, yes, the trail map is on the website.
Okay, cool, thank you, that's just for my knowledge, thank you.
But I drive by there and I think, how can I get in there? I can't even find it.
I'll show you how to get in there. There's an unlocked gate if you go west on.
Yeah.
Road Road, it goes to
But
Freedom.
no, there's no place to park over there.
No,
You can
there's
go
really-
inside and park in the
Yeah.
grass. Yeah, I'll
Can,
get in there.
can you drive in, you can't drive inside there with a vehicle.
Yeah. There's a road
There's
that goes
supposed,
there.
supposed to be no public driving and no vehicles.
Somehow the road got there. so.
Okay, I will bring that up with them.
It's just a thought, but, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to talk to the town council about the total town reserve picture. I found some new information online that's pretty interesting. And also, this is spurred because in our last May 30th budget session, we made some relatively substantial new changes to the capital spending budget for FY '24. We obviously switched bridges and we found out the new number for Brambleberry. And so coming out of that, I went and redid some math to give you guys a forward look at where the capital reserves are gonna be over the next couple of years, and there's some interesting things in there. I then went out and tried to find some benchmark data, and I'll thank our brethren at the City of Cheyenne for doing the research, but they pulled this chart together on their website, which is really interesting, and I'm kind of disappointed I didn't think of it. What they're doing here is looking at in the first column, for all the big cities in our state, how much unrestricted general fund reserves, this is AKA rainy day funds. And I have to admit, several things stood out here. I was startled by how much money some of these guys have. The city of Gillette with, what, 33,000 people, so 17 times more people than us, has almost $69 million in unrestricted fund balances. So this is really rainy day stuff. And that was their whole point of this section in their budget book where I found this was to talk about how they should target their rainy day for, just like we did for the first time as a town council, I don't know, a month or two ago. Y'all helped me think about where should we think about setting our reserves. I didn't know this existed at the time, I wish I had. What they do that's really useful is, we set $500,000, but we just kind of picked that number because it sounded big and not too small. But they're a little more scientific. They said, really the goal here is to have money on hand, that if your revenues went to zero tomorrow, how long could you afford to run the town out of your cash balances? And that's what this does. It says our annual expenditures, let's just use City of Cheyenne at the top, are $49 million a year. For reference, just so you know, our number is $2 million. So the general fund expenditures without capital every year right now, and the budget's about $2.1 million. So their number is $49 million. And they have $28 million in cash on hand. when you do the math of those two numbers, what it says is they have 211 days worth of spending in their bank account. So that would give them 211 days of time to figure out what in the heck they're gonna do if there was some sort of significant issue. It's a relatively common way of looking at this among corporations as well, and I guess cities do it, and they did me the pleasure of finding the numbers and saved me the work. They also have minimum policies there, and you can see most of them are running well ahead of their minimum policy. In fact, 3 times in the case of Cody. Only one is even close, right? I think, who is that? Sheridan is the only one that's like, what is that, 20% above roughly? And so anyways, that's just really good benchmark data. I guess we could find it for smaller cities, but this was readily at hand. And so I thought I'd take that and then show you what that means for our numbers and how we compare. And so I had to do a spreadsheet to do that. So let's just switch here. And these are just the numbers from the other page, and I did a quick average. So the average of what you just looked at was 368 days. So almost a year's worth of expenses on average across those 10 major cities. The low was 211 days, so more than a half a year of expenses. And the high was Cody with, what is that, a year and a half, almost a year and 2/3. Again, I mentioned already, our number's around $2 million. And so if we ran our rainy day reserve at the average of 368, it would be about just over 2.1 million. If we ran it at the lowest of all those other cities, we'd say our rainy day fund should be about 1.2 million. And the highest, if we tried to be Cody, I guess we would have 3.2. What is our number right now? We have 1.8 million in free available cash is what we're calling it. It's the road reserve, the equipment. Remember that new slide I showed y'all? So it's kind of all the cash. We have kind of specified where it goes, but we haven't hammered it into a project yet. So it's our reserve sitting there. It's about $1.8 million. It's about 320 days. So whether by design, circumstance, or happenstance, we have a pretty healthy number. As we sit here today, we have 320 days of expenses, which compares, fairly favorably to the average of these other towns in Wyoming. Therein ends the good news, because now we're going to look forward.
After next year, what's it gonna be?
Right there's, Ron, you've done this to me every time we have a meeting, you're like, right there anticipating the next thing I want to cover. It's awesome. So thanks for the intro. If we do the budget that we sit on now, which reflects the changes coming out of the May 30 meeting, where we spent a bit more on a different bridge, we found a really bad price increase on Brambleberry, we would be down, and this includes an expected $400,000 of surplus over the next 12 months. So this is a number at June 30th, 2024. Said differently, of the 1.8 million, we would spend all but 400,000 of it, and then we're going to get another 400,000 of, if we perform towards budget on revenue and expenses, we should put another 400 in the bank. So
In 2024.
So by the time you get a year from now,
Okay.
you should have 840,000, which is 147 days.
It also includes that 200,000 of extra snow capacity if it's needed, so that's a
It does,
provision.
it does.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a couple 100,000 for service level improvements in the operating budget.
This 1.8, if you look at our financials, we're running 600,000 above expenses for the year.
Well, we're anticipating 400 for next year. The 1.8 is through June, so,
Okay.
or where we sit, yeah, right
That's what
now.
I'm
Right
asking.
Yeah,
That 1.8 includes what we expect to not spend this year.
for already for the last year that we're just finishing. Yes, sorry to be, I wasn't clear on that. Yeah, the 1.8 includes the surpluses we've put into a savings account for the moment that have been generated over the last year plus, actually. It includes that number. So that's everything. And then you take it forward a year, we take out Brambleberry, we take out, we spend money on Bell Branch, we spend money on some chip seal projects we have to do. And right now it has the parking lot entrance and it has plumbing repairs, and a few other small things that come up. And you roll the tape forward and you give us another year's surplus of 400,000, and you end up with 840,000. Any questions about that? So the math would be, that's 147 days, it's below, for what it's worth, those 10 larger city benchmarks that exist.
I thought 122 days was the low. No.
211.
211.
211, sorry.
A lot of them
Dyslexic.
have policies of 180, so.
Yeah, and we're gonna come to that in just a sec, exactly. So their policies are far lower. So it's still an okay number, but let's play the tape forward another year, or 2, or 3, whatever it is.
For Vista Pay.
And we know we've got 2 very large projects, and frankly, I can assure you we're underestimating both of these because we're not gonna get to them for a few years, so they're both gonna cost more than those numbers on there by some amount. But call it 1.7. That also doesn't include refreshing the annual, what I could just call smaller annual projects, like re-chip sealing some surfaces here and there, something breaks in the plumbing in this building. So, there's always a couple $100,000 of kind of year in, year out, smaller project stuff. So, 1.7, I'm gonna round it and say over the 24 months after, so this is now FY '25 and FY '26, we're gonna need a couple $1 million for capital needs, just to do only those 2 projects. They are at the top of the list. Brambleberry's probably right in there somewhere too, but those are the next 2 at the top of the list. So the good news is we'll go through some prioritization discussion, but they're probably gonna be high priorities. We got 840 as we sit here a year from now, and we're gonna be staring at the future a year from now. We have $840,000 in the bank. We're looking at the future, and we know we've got, call it, $2 million of expenses and $800,000 in our wallet. That's been keeping me up at night a little bit lately, quite candidly, as I think about how this all hangs together and the decisions that were reached. And so, where I wanted to, yeah, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Where I wanted to go is just to kind of go through the details of it a little bit. This is the same numbers we just went through, but just to help people get their heads around a bit more. We've got 1.8 million today, that's literally right now. Here's the things that are approved in the budget. That leaves 400,000, but we're expecting a nice surplus, we hope and pray, in the next 12 months. And so we'll get to the 840 at the end of the year. And then you've got another 2 million that you want to spend in the next couple of years. And my guess, this is a guess, and it's after reading what I can get from like a 150-page budget book from the city of Cheyenne. I found a couple of smaller ones, and I read some economic study. We're going into a recession, one way or another. A slowdown, maybe not a negative recession, but it ain't gonna be better. And so, what's gonna happen to sales taxes? Property tax jumps are in our rearview mirror, right? We all know our house values are now on the decline if they could sell it all. So, the town's revenue outlook will be challenged to be, kind of cover the cost of living because our costs are going up with inflation. So quite candidly, I'd be pleased if we sat here a year from now and then another year from then saying, hey, we still have a $400,000 surplus every year. If our costs only go up like this and our revenues were to match that, that's probably, honestly, one of the better scenarios that could happen in the next couple of years. I don't think we're gonna have a bigger surplus. And frankly, I think many of us have ideas for where we could spend money in the town to deliver better services as well. So maybe we should keep in mind we might generate another 400,000 a year. But even if we do that for the next 3 years, we won't have enough to get to the $2 million just for those 2 projects. And that's if nothing else goes boom in the night or no more surprises with some other culvert somewhere else. And by the way, that would mean 0 rainy day fund. We got 800, but if you just did Vista, you don't have the money for it. If you just did Hardman, you'd have 300,000 left. That's a tiny 15%, which is 50-day rainy day fund, which isn't even on the chart, right? The lowest was 211. So anyways, this is what's keeping me awake this last week or so as I've been chewing on this. I've had one-on-one conversations with several of you about it, so this hopefully isn't too much of a surprise, but I wanted to give you all the information that I have and offer any help you need to get more information as you think about how to prioritize these projects. Luann's going to talk about how we do it in a general sense going forward as well. And I guess and I'll tell you what really hit home today, and the reason I actually wasn't on the agenda to talk about this, because I've mentioned it to some of you already, I thought that was going to be enough. Rue sent as she always does, the newsletter out. And I was like, oh great, we should talk about the FY24 goals, the budget, and the infrastructure projects, and in fact she had all that on there. And as soon as I said that out loud to myself, I went, oh God, we're going to be saying we're doing Brambleberry, we're going to say we're going to do Middle Branch, we're going to start promoting it, it's going to be in the public domain in a big, big way. And if we had to undo that because we couldn't live with not having the funds to do Vista when that giant trench runs for a mile down Vista in 2 years, I'm not sure that's a decision you will want to sleep on at night. And so I think, I hate to say it, but I think you probably wanna think a little bit before you commit down the communication path with some of these on a 3-year horizon here, and make sure you've got the money for the things that you think are a priority. So I'll stop there and let you guys kind
Can
of
I add
digest
60
this.
seconds on that?
Sure.
So I've only been back a couple of weeks. We've a lot of travels and things. And when I came back, we had that special meeting a couple weeks ago on the Hardman Bridge that turned out to a discussion of. Just like you, and this is why I asked in that meeting, just because we budgeted doesn't mean we have to spend it. Does anybody recall me saying that? So we're like provisioning it in there, but I've already talked to neighbors that I'm campaigning for my brother. They think Middle Branch is a done deal. I said, no, the mayor's committed to have a special meeting before we spend any dollars on it. But we're just putting in the budget to preserve it. But I've been worried about this too. How are we ever gonna pay for Vista if we spend all of our money on these
And we do have precedent
these
for
lesser
that.
priority projects before we get to the
I
Vista?
think we budgeted for Brambleberry before.
Right, we did,
We
we
did
budgeted.
We budgeted for Middle Branch.
That's
too.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
But
sitting there
I-
and nothing ever gets done.
Right.
So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you know, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'll get into more of that, but yeah, I'm just saying what's happening. And
Yeah, I
We
mean,
need
at
to
some
decide
point,
on
you gotta like, you know, the money was committed last year to do it, and nothing ever happened with it.
done.
So are we just gonna keep kicking the can because we wanna save money to fix Vista? And why is Vista getting repaved more of a priority than fixing Brambleberry or fixing Middle Branch or fixing Hardin
I
for
don't
that
know if it
matter?
is. Who can tell me which one's the priority?
Well, I think
asked
it's
that
because it
meeting, too.
is it is the busiest road in
That's
town.
not-
I know, but it's been in the.
And it's
But you-
also
but you can always, you can always grade it.
And it's also an arterial road, and Brambleberry is not, but then neither
But
is Middle
streets regular
Branch,
road
so.
time is
Well,
part of
that's
that.
another.
It's a
reason
tough decision, I mean,
why-
Yeah, these are not easy decisions.
This is because you're right, we had told the people that live on Brambleberry, the people in that subdivision, that we were gonna fix that road. They really want every road done, which is,
I think
It's
a
not
key
gonna
point though
happen,
is, just like in
obviously.
personal budgeting when I was young and poor, you have to do more than the current year, you have to project out to where the big roadblock,
Yeah.
the big expenditures are coming and make sure you're planning for those.
Well, and we should probably start cutting
What's a
a little
5-year
fat then, if we're going to be doing that as
But
well.
where is the
I
fat?
mean, well, I know, that's what I'm asking, like, I'm sure it's there, I would love to say we are not
Well,
that.
I'm not sure there is
but,
any fat,
I think we could definitely, at least find a little
but
bit.
half
but-
a million, I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, like the numbers, unfortunately, it didn't even come out until the motion was brought forward to put Middle Branch in there.
Right, I
And
was
so
surprised.
I'm sorry that if it seems like, oh my gosh, this is a huge surprise, but honestly, our decision making.
If it wasn't Middle
Wasn't-
Branch, it was gonna be $500K for Hardin, so
Exactly.
you're talking
Well,
$40,000
I
now.
know, that's,
But now that's not an issue, so it must not have been an issue before if it's not an issue now.
what, the
The
40,000
Hardin,
or?
Hardin.
You know, I don't know, it's really hard to know the prioritization of anything because I'm just hearing, it's a lot of like hearing it, like, and it's kind of not shown and reflected. Cause Middle Branch was closed, but then I'm told that Hardman is worse, but yet Hardman's up and going and then Middle Branch all of a sudden can be reopened. I just kind of feel like it was a lot of
I've
trying
never
to.
heard it could be opened.
That was my
Yeah,
confusion from the.
we had that in the.
We were
meeting.
talking
We were
Yeah.
talking
If
about
we
maybe for
could.
golf
There
carts,
are-
but not for cars or anything
No, it was
else.
for
So-
cars
The
5,000 and
weight we
under.
talked about in the last meeting.
Yeah, Marty has a quick
5,000.
question, so Marty, go ahead.
And keeping in mind that Wyoming's unofficial model,
Sorry.
um,
Official.
when I was active in California, not trying to make this place California, the state and counties, some of them, had discretionary funds that could be lobbied for by some of the smaller towns that didn't have the resources that towns like Cheyenne and Casper and some of the bigger towns in this state have. And I think a couple of meetings ago, I asked about that, and this town doesn't seem to lobby for, that kind of money. I understand roads come under DOT, YDOT, and their priority is to put that into state roads, which makes sense for them, but when you've got money coming from the federal government that gets to the state government that then gets parceled out, and the smaller towns aren't getting any. If we've got a committee of a couple of people that will lobby both YDOT, the county supervisors, commissioners, and, the legislature in, Cheyenne,
Yeah, there has
we
to
might be able to get them to unask some of that money.
Maybe, but, you know, I think the mayor has lobbied, I mean, we've asked for,
I'm
we've
not
asked for
talking
help
about just
from.
coming from the mayor,
Yeah,
Roads
because
Advisory Board.
you've got 100 mayors
Yeah,
that
yeah,
are all pushing that, but if you've got citizen committees that are pushing on county commissioners who wanna get reelected, and you've got a citizen committee that is pushing on, the state government, the legislature, I know from having done it in a state far bigger than Wyoming, you know, the governor here knows half the state. I guarantee you, Gavin Newsom doesn't know half of San Francisco when he was mayor there. If you've got citizen committees from small towns like ours pushing on them, they will feel that pressure. The county doesn't have as much discretionary fund as Cheyenne does, but they do have money. And they can push on YDOT to help us. Now, they probably won't pay half a project, like if Middle Branch is 500,000, they probably won't come up with 250K, but they might come up with 80K. And that saves us a sizable chunk of money, but what it takes is us pushing on it. And not just coming from the mayor or one or two council members, but from constituents that vote. And if we had a group that would do that, and, you know, every now and then they might go out, whether on this town's dime or their own, and meet with, people in the legislature, meet with their, various committees, or meeting with some of the people from local districts, that go out there, we can make them rethink how they do stuff. I saw it work in California,
Yeah.
trust me, if it can work
yeah,
there,
I've seen it work in the legislature.
how
Yeah.
long did it take to?
on some things,
From-
on some things it took years, but if we don't start doing it, it's gonna take that many
Yeah.
more
Okay,
years.
You're
but I mean, let's assume it takes 4 years. I mean,
Then we don't get Middle Branch done,
For 4, yeah.
but we might get something that is a, you know, a project. What he's telling us, and we all know it, these projects are gonna keep coming up,
Yeah.
whatever they are.
Yeah,
They're gonna keep coming up, but if we don't start becoming a squeaky wheel from voters, not, it helps if a mayor or council members do it also, but if we don't do it as voters, in an organized way, it won't happen.
Quick point, you've said it 3 times now, from voters. There's a fair number of people in this town that are not voters in the state of Wyoming.
Absolutely.
But there are
So
some who are.
there's
Yeah,
some
there's a
that
lot
are.
that are, yeah.
And so whatever this group is, it's gotta be picked carefully.
We've got a couple of boards. We've got a water board. The water board could do that, activism for water projects. We don't have a public works board or a water, or a roads board or whatever, but if we do,
yeah,
that board can do that activism. And that's what I'm getting at. If you've got, I don't necessarily mean me, but if somebody shows up in Cheyenne or one of our state legislators' offices and says, you know, I'm on Town of Star Valley Ranch's water board, and we have voted to start asking you for money to fix XYZ project. That representative is gonna say, you know, I'm gonna have a harder time getting as many votes out of the town of Star Valley if that board goes to their citizens and says, you know, your Marty Arroyo would not vote for this or pressure for this money. And if they start pushing this, the rest of the legislature starts listening because they've got stuff they wanna get done, and they need that person's vote. this is how that back scratching works, but we aren't at the telling them we've got an itch. And we need to be.
We're not advocating for ourselves.
I mean, I agree, I mean, I've been so involved with the water end of it, that trying to get money for roads has been kind of in the back room, I hate to say,
Well, and it doesn't sound like there's money out there, but if we can dig it up
but,
in
and
that
there, you
form.
know, and there might be, it's
Yeah.
just a matter of trying to get people to help.
Well, and that can be part of the
Lo- I love
road,
that
I mean,
idea.
yeah, the idea of lobbying being part of like a objective, not objective, but maybe a duty of some
I
sort.
just about guarantee you there are towns, maybe they're larger towns, but there are towns, especially the ones that are near Cheyenne,
Oh, yeah.
that are talking to the members of the legislature and pushing these issues. But I did this for years in California, and I can tell you, just hearing from me, they did things. I asked the state senator I flew into Ontario with, as we were coming through the glide path, we were looking at all these warehouses and truck depots, huge buildings. And I asked her, look out your window, and you see all these air conditioning units on these buildings. How come we don't see any solar power grids on these buildings? 2 years later, not only did those buildings start having them, but every high school parking lot got them. And I asked her later, did you do that? And she said, no, you did it. So it does come from citizens making a push that these things happen. And we can do it. And our only problem with doing it is you will then have other towns saying, oh, gee. But if we get those other towns pushing for money out of YDOT, more money comes into the rural areas off of the 89 to fix some of this stuff that's happening. I mean, just this year, we're kind of lucky we didn't lose any bridges on the Salt.
Well, and it kind of helps out
It's not
YDOT
over
too,
yet.
because if they're saying, well, here's all of my money, but it's going to these towns, now I need money still, and that gets more money into
Yeah.
them too, so.
This kind of advocacy, I know, will work if we do it, but we can't just do it once. We've got to make that a priority of our boards and committees.
10 seconds more on this. This is the concept and vision I've had for Roads Advisory Board, and 6 months ago, I think I gave Kirsten a copy of it. And that's got grant applications and all that, utilizing the expertise we have on grant applications and lobbying and so forth. So that's part of the vision that should be fashioned into the charter for such a board.
And we are getting that going.
You're getting closer.
It is
Yeah.
so close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when we talk
I
about
do
legislation,
actually-
we'll wanna know when that's
Everything
gonna
else
hit
I
the
was doing,
council.
so.
So,
It's,
Now,
Creative.
as a related
Yeah.
point to what Dave just said, we have a public relations issue we gotta deal with.
Communication.
We told the town that we would hold a public meeting to look at the 3 options for Middle Branch.
Yep.
And at a meeting that was not advertised for Middle Branch,
I had a problem with
we ended up coming up with a decision on what was gonna happen on Middle
that.
Branch.
It's a budget not to do something.
So now we've got, we actually came back and said, we're gonna put the concrete bridge in for 2-lane road.
I didn't pick up on there was a decision to do it. In fact,
That
I
was what was
we had a
approved,
meeting before
which is the
anything
reason it went to $525,000.
started. 541.
Well, 541, that's now a public relations
Well, yeah,
issue
you've got-
that this group's gotta deal
I've
with.
talked to people
I think we
down there
just have
saying,
another
well, that's done, that's out of the way, I was gonna come with, so people think that's happening now, and that's why I had
well,
it.
then we just schedule another meeting and explain.
There needs to be a specific
gotta
publicized
do
meeting
something.
on that topic.
yeah.
And I guarantee you.
Well,
there's a
that,
lot
I
of
think
people-
that's the other problem, is that it was publicized as a meeting
As
about
Hardman.
Hardman,
Yeah,
and a
so
decision
I-
was made about Middle Branch.
That's right.
And so, some of the frustration was that the people, well, I wouldn't have skipped that meeting if I'd known that was gonna happen.
I've heard from a lot of it was about campaign.
The other thing that we keep glossing past is the 3 options were never 3 different kinds of culverts for a full-size road. It was fundamentally different options for
Yes.
for the crossing? Was it a golf cart crossing? Was it a
But we never had
small car
numbers on
crossing?
that.
Was it a big, we've
Right.
never, I've never seen that
We were gonna
information,
vote
but
on
it was,
that.
the three choices were
Yeah.
never supposed to be steel for 430 and
Mhm.
aluminum for something
That was
else,
for
and
Heartland.
concrete for something else. Yeah, and so the three choices that are in people's minds, were fundamentally different. I don't know that y'all have ever taken a look at those.
So how
three.
did,
We never got them.
where did Brian pull those numbers
I
from?
know, it
Out of
was
his butt?
unbelievable
I
that
mean,
he
he
pulled
had something
that.
right there
Those-
in front of him that he's
Even
already
Brambleberry
costed everything
He's
out.
got-
He did,
Those
for the
numbers
ARPA, you're
were
right,
for
for the
Hardman.
ARPA funding, no, it was for
No,
both.
he,
It was the exact same thing in the ARPA applications, the exact same
That's right.
three
Yeah,
options.
exactly.
I'm not saying,
Yeah.
I'm not saying the money was pulled out of somewhere, I'm making, I guess,
Yeah.
a confusing point, I thought it was a clear point. A year ago, when we talked about options, it was fundamentally what kind of bridge, not what building material, but was it a car bridge, a cart bridge, a walking bridge?
Dave, that was never presented to us.
To
That's
whom?
what the council.
Oh, that's what I'm saying,
Well,
I don't think you guys
that's
ever
what-
dealt with that.
Okay.
Never
Year
saw
later.
it.
There's so we had two applications for ARPA funding. They were exactly the same. One was for
Yes,
Middle Branch, one was
exactly
for
the same.
Hardman.
Yeah.
That was for the ARPA funding. And so when we all decided that maybe we would do Hardman instead, we just used that.
I don't remember that decision.
And
It
then-
was presented.
That was
this is what we're
presented to
doing.
us on the first meeting that suddenly
And
we're gonna do
then-
Hardman.
And
Yeah,
then
it wasn't a
we
question.
asked, I think you asked him for more options for Middle Branch.
Just like a month.
And that
ago.
Where are
was
those?
not very long ago, so.
Yeah, that was like a month ago. That's what
But
I'm
ne-
saying,
but
like,
none of
it's-
those were
this
for
could
car
go up.
bridge.
No, what were the three
Yeah.
options? A
Three
cart
options
bridge
were a walking bridge, a cart
Cart
bridge,
bridge.
and a car bridge.
and a one lane cart
The
bridge.
derivative of the second, of the third one was a one lane.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never actually seen that work. But by the way,
No,
don't,
yeah.
I mean, when we applied for
We-
ARPA, we
Yeah.
applied for a big road, why not? We're
course.
applying for ARPA, so if we had applied for a golf cart bridge, they would have laughed at us even
Yeah.
more, so.
Yeah, they laughed at
So I thought the decision to apply for a full bridge for those
Yeah.
grants was the
Mhm.
only decision, really.
Yeah,
That's the right thing to do that, but.
yeah.
This could blow up, cause everybody's, I hear from, I'm out there trying to get Wade elected to the board, and everybody thinks the board, the association does the roads, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
all mixed up on who does what. But every one
Of
of them's
course.
complaining about roads, they're all complaining about what's going on with that bridge. So,
That's the thing, a
if
year
they hear
later,
to find out that it's budgeted and happening, then they're gonna be realistic.
well, the other half will also be enamored with the thought
So
of getting Middle Branch
Public
back.
relations
So
nightmare, yeah.
here's my other thing, if we've known since 2013 that these have needed to be done, I think they both need to be done. Quite honestly, if we did Harmon first, Middle Branch would not be a priority. And I think they both are priorities when we have had known for 10 years that they need to be done. So it puts us really back to, let's get them both done. I agree, the money is frightening, so we do have to figure out that part. But putting Middle Branch first, the money was already allotted for it, and that's what we've decided to do.
Now, if you do the other one first, then you've got no bridge for a month or
right.
whatever, so.
Well, you can do a
So
project
we
that
can
does a rapid,
I'm
Florida,
sorry.
big rebuilt bridges to
I don't
San
think
Antonio
you, I don't
Island
think you
in
do.
a couple of
Please,
days.
Yeah,
someone
but that wasn't a-
walk me through what the public relations nightmare is
I
here.
know, because I'm not seeing it
I'm
either.
not seeing it either.
We made a choice on a bridge that we didn't hold a public meeting for.
After promising to
Well,
do so.
if you were there,
But
it
the
felt like
public
we
After
were.
promising.
We had the public meeting.
But all the people
So
that
the-
were at that meeting were there about Middle Branch.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But we-
Because
but
it's
we-
hard
was
to-
called
Yeah,
for
we were
Hardman.
clear that it was only gonna be for Hardman and.
Okay,
and
so
you're
you're
right.
talking about
So
Middle
that
Branch
was
meeting.
at the,
But that-
Yeah.
that was a
there's
public-
been two meetings, right? We had
Yeah.
a public hearing,
Uh-huh.
and then we had a special meeting, okay? And we had people at the hearing back on the 17th of May
Yeah.
that came, and they talked about both bridges, and they wanted to know what we were gonna do about Middle Branch.
Well, was it in the May,
That may have come up in.
May town council
No, it was all
meeting
of
that we voted?
The special
to
meeting
put-
on the 30th.
It was a special meeting because Ryan said, if you're gonna do it, I need to know now
That's
so
right.
we can get it done and get it
We
out
can
to
get
bid.
going.
Yeah.
So you're right, we did a public hearing on, specifically in Hardman, and then in the next meeting, we voted on Middle Branch.
Yeah,
Let
which
me
wasn't
help you out here.
publicized,
You
Without a
guys,
public meeting.
Which I'm fine to have a public meeting on
but
Middle
it wasn't
Branch.
publicized and such.
you guys are
Well,
damned either way.
It's true, I mean.
Whichever you do or don't,
Yeah.
you're gonna piss off the people who
Well,
have
that's
a
always gonna be the
priority.
case.
It is.
And
Part of the job.
People are.
I think as long as the council feels comfortable that they're making the right decision, you don't, I mean,
Yeah.
it's whatever, they'll have
On
to
the other
live
hand,
with it.
you're elected representatives, that means you need to represent what the citizens want.
Right.
Well,
What
if you
they
were
want.
at the,
That was
meeting
never
on May
publicized,
17th,
that was
yes,
never-
it was, May 17th was, so was a special meeting on the 30th, because
It didn't say
it
anything
was
about
on
Middle
the
Branch. We got the
female.
email.
Did not.
No, it didn't. It didn't
Yeah.
say like, this is the Middle Branch meeting, no, but I mean, those meetings were open
And-
to the public to come. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say that I pointed out both times that we should be prepared to discuss both bridges. And both times it was advertised as Hardman. And again, when was that decision made to prioritize that one over the
I
other
thought the
one?
council made that
No.
one, because I originally said in the
Budget.
last workshop that we should publicize it for both.
When we
Sure,
voted,
yeah.
when we voted last, I think I was still here, was that in September? When we voted to go for the ARP funding, we had two of them.
No, we did that in, right after these guys were elected, so we did
And at
that.
that time, Middle Branch
January.
was priority
So it was
still
in January, so I was,
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in January,
Okay,
but prior
so-
to that, the priority went to Hardman because it was a arterial road, not a residential road.
So who decides that that is the way it has to be?
You
I
guys.
know.
That's up to.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't discussed that it was, and to me, the funds were put there for Middle Branch over a year ago. We still hadn't had all the numbers brought forth on it, so at some point, it's like we have to push forward.
No, I can't
Make a
disagree that
decision.
the options had not shown up, because they still haven't showed up.
It was
Yeah.
controversial last year too, it was in the
You
budget.
can,
It is,
you
yeah.
can
It
somewhat
was in the budget last
resolve
year.
your public relations issue by,
Communication.
letting the citizenry know that your hand was forced when they turned down both grants. That you had intended to be able to finance one out of budget and the other out of ARPA, and hoped to be able to fund both out of ARPA.
Hope is not
But
a
when they
strategy.
turned down both grants, you were forced to make a priority, and since Middle Branch has been closed, and that itch has been itching longer,
It's kind of gone away.
Okay, so what's the end result here? We need to have another public meeting?
Well, I think
That's fine,
Or,
but that's
you know,
what
I mean,
citizens
what,
want.
another public
what is the
meeting?
end goal of all
I
this?
don't think we need a public meeting.
No.
I mean, the decision's
think
been
we just-
made in the last meeting
mean,
that
we're
we're gonna.
supposed to approve
we're
this
gonna
budget
put
tonight.
Middle Branch,
I don't wanna dig up.
Well,
the
we could
weeds
still
and
approve the
swallow it.
budget,
Yeah.
because it's gonna hold a spot.
I'll tell you where I was going for what it's worth then. So
Okay, so go,
I was never a fan of spending the money on Middle Branch given other competing priorities and a very limited capital budget. However, when it was, you know, to use really the only accurate word, sort of switched in a couple of weeks back, you didn't hear anything out of me. It was like, oh my God, what are we doing? That's crazy. And the reason was, because I'd come to conclude a couple of things. One, we're never gonna have the money to do the road service projects that people in the town want. And so the limited amounts of funds we have are gonna be targeted at 2 or 3 things. And so I said, all right, so it doesn't really matter if we save a huge amount of money on the balance sheet, because we're never gonna be able to save enough to do much paving in this town. That's the first thing. The second thing, without finding revenue, and I'm not in the world of finding revenue yet, that's a different discussion. The other thing was, it makes a ton of sense to do Middle Branch first. If you're gonna do both bridges, doing Middle Branch first enables you to have something in place so that when you close down the arterial, people have a place to go. And so as I walked out of that meeting, I was thinking, all right, if we're gonna do both bridges, I agree, we should do Middle Branch first and then do Hardman. The problem for me came up a couple of days later after May 30th when we got the new estimate for Brambleberry, and I went, wow, now Hardman's getting crowded out of the budget. And or we're gonna sacrifice our rainy day fund, or we're gonna sacrifice Vista. And so I started to think about the 2-bridge process, of spending $1 million, fix both bridges, move on with life, kinda made sense. But the reality is, I don't know, if we don't find money, okay, and we can live in that world in a minute, but in the world where we don't have that money, I worry about an arterial where your engineer told you is at risk, and we can all worry about what he meant, because we can't get a clear answer, but he has told us that. We're choosing to crowd that out of the budget for something like Brambleberry. And so, for me, that's a tough place to rest my head. I do think both bridges as the priorities made sense, and I thought that's what we were walking out of the room with. We just can't do them both in the same budget year, so the other one will come up next year. But as I look at this now, I don't know that we'll have the money to do Hardman a year from
Well,
now.
in that meeting, Middle Branch was discussed doing in 5 years. So why are we not discussing doing Hardman in 5 years? And Ryan can Jimmy rig Hardman the way he was planning on Jimmy rigging Middle Branch for it to be open? I mean, I'm trying to understand.
well, I think, no, what we were doing is lower the speed limit, lower the limit, what people
Yeah.
can do. So if you're gonna do that to Hardman, that means that every single piece of equipment that comes through in the Public Works building is gonna go down that
Here's
branch.
the
Which
key
we don't
piece.
wanna, I don't think that's
Or,
smart.
or
I don't think we need.
Hold
out
on a
Muddy
second.
Spring.
Here's
Yeah.
the key
They
piece.
can go down to Perkins and out Muddy Spring.
Cut our productivity in half and.
Middle
reduce our gas
branch.
bills by 3x.
Yeah.
Middle Branch has 2 5-foot culverts that are allowing water to run through it. Hardman has 1 5-foot culvert.
I understand, and I understand the pressure, and I totally find that, or understand Hardman is beat up and needs help. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, like, okay, if this is the plan going forward, then we need to figure out what to do with Hardman, so maybe that should be where our discussion is.
Yeah.
And that's why-
And you're right, Kirsten, we know they're both bad.
Yeah.
We know they both need to be replaced,
To
and so,
also tie into something else, it's the same situation with the Green Canyon tank. You're exactly right. At one point in time, do we stop saying, we're just gonna keep band-aiding this, and hopefully it
Do it.
becomes somebody else's problem?
yeah.
And until it becomes an emergency. And so you have to make that decision. You have to, and I don't envy any of you this decision, because you're gonna piss off people no
Yeah,
matter
this
what you
doesn't
do.
feel good either way,
But,
honestly.
you know, at some point in time, you have to make that decision. We're gonna stop patching this, and we're gonna
That's
do
the
something
problem.
about it.
That's why we're at where we are today.
Because you're right, it has been patched since 2013. It's been, it'll be fine until next year, until.
Pour a little
since
concrete on it, let's do
And
it.
eventually, if it
Yeah.
fails, you're not gonna wanna be there. So listen, I'm not arguing about which bridge. I really
No.
think, the only thing I guess I'm really advocating for is that you consider prioritizing both bridges over paving one little section of the ranch. And I get that section, because I've been an advocate of that. I was an advocate of it until it went from 400,000 to 631,000 in a
We
day.
didn't get that
That's a
number
quarter of a
until
million
that same
dollars.
day,
And that's
so
not
I'm
unusual,
struggling.
and that will change too by the time we do it, I can tell you
It
that.
just became too
But
expensive.
how many citizens does it affect, the residents? Probably more down there than up here per dollar.
No, I don't.
Well,
I don't know.
if you kinda
I don't know.
compare, I mean, I can give you the counts.
That has to be out.
We actually have the road studies.
Brambleberry is ranked 5th in just the total traffic on it.
What's
I mean,
the-
Cedar Creek is 1, Cedar Creek is more than double everything else, so.
Yeah, that's the only point I was bringing up is,
Yeah.
I don't,
But
I'm
Hardman,
beyond Middle Branch.
yeah,
or
I mean,
at least
Hardman is
Hardman.
ranked 2.
Well, were we,
That's right.
so like, again, we were just kinda told Brambleberry
Yeah.
and all of this, so what is the urgency of doing that besides the potholes and everything? Is that the
Pretty
main
much
reason?
that was it, is to,
Okay.
to kind of eliminate how much time, because I think Willie said that he went down there last year and
I
was
know
it
it's
50
rough.
something times they graded
76
that
times
road.
or, you know,
It's-
thing.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah, I mean,
and
it
it's
is.
not a
It's a
matter of,
money pit.
you know, it
It
is,
is,
you're exactly
yeah.
right.
And it's rough for the
Unfortunately, they
citizens,
keep
too.
throwing money at it, but again, you have to figure out
We
where.
can't afford to do it, we can't afford to do it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I'm kind of,
And Dave's
And then
exactly
I-
right, that's 600,000
I'm where-
towards a bridge
Yeah.
versus
do both
versus paving a
bridges
road.
and
The
hold
bridge
on.
on
What
number
is the
2 road.
difference, and this is just because I'm curious about, if we didn't pay Vista and but we did the water project, what's the cost difference in that, does anybody know?
How much is the paving alone on Vista, you mean?
Well, because right now we have it budgeted at 1,300, so which
One
part
point
of
three
that?
million, that's just paving, that's not
That's
the
just
water
paving.
project.
Okay,
After the
so
water
do we have any numbers for anything else besides paving on that?
A different surface, you mean?
And don't get me
The-
wrong, I understand why
the-
people are wanting to.
The water
Yeah.
project was what, 2 million?
Roughly.
It's over 2 million, but yeah, so,
And
but,
that's already
Yeah,
that has
that's
nothing
committed.
to do with
Yeah,
this.
no, I understand, okay, so the 1.3 is just for paving.
just paving.
Yeah,
I really wonder if our citizens wouldn't appreciate their roads being paved over Vista, I am saying, oh no, if you talk to the people of Green Canyon or Brambleberry, they'll definitely agree, yes, I'd rather have my road done than
of course,
Vista.
everyone does, yeah.
So, but I'm just saying, then maybe we need to figure out that part, if Vista, the paving of Vista is that important, I mean, it has been rough for, I mean, 5 years even, that we've actually lived here, day in and
It's
day
been
out,
rough
it's
for a long
been
time.
rough.
Pull it up, make it a gravel road, and maybe it's.
Make it a
easier.
gravel road for a while.
Bring it into our little charm of our town, but maintain this road the best, because obviously it is arterial and that is important. It's just a thought, at least for the time being, if it would allow us to get something else
I think
done.
that, I mean, I don't know, I know enough about the roads to say that if it stays gravel, it will be a disaster all the time.
Yep.
just because of the traffic and the speed is the biggest thing.
And they're doing it on top of a huge pit, because it's a transmission line, so there's gonna be a massive
And the
trench
base-
down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
They'll be trying to fill that, and it'll keep compacting.
And the Vista
It'll be a
base
mess.
is not the best in the world.
Yeah, so the 1.3 million, I think that includes,
But Kristen's
And new
point
base.
is the right one, right?
It
And
is.
we're about to have a committee that's gonna focus exactly on this.
This is
Yeah.
exactly.
And, you know, honestly, this decision of, hey, do we do Brambleberry, do we save money and do Vista when we need to in a couple, 3 years? That's a hard decision, and it needs a lot of attention, more than we can even give it in a session like this. It's honestly probably a perfect thing for you guys to use as an example as you do your ranking of these things. And I guess the reason I like that is because it gets to where I'm headed, which is, it might be the most prudent thing to do to let's do a bridge, and if it's Middle Branch, that's great, that's your all's decision. Let's be prepared for Hardman, so let's make sure we're financially in position to do Hardman. And frankly, in my mind, if we do Brambleberry, we may not be in financial position to do the Hardman Bridge. And so I think the most prudent plan is to have the money to do both bridges if you need to, and then deal with paving. So in other words, there's a hierarchy here, right? There's critical infrastructure on your second largest road, Hardman is, and it's critical for the town works. If that road goes out, I don't know how well he plows or grades or anything else. So, you know, I just think it's really, really important, and more important than paving even Vista, to use your example, or Brambleberry to use another. So the point of that is, budgeting Brambleberry, okay, we did it before, I think we did it before, so.
no, we did it
It's been
last year.
done a number of
And so we're
times.
gonna, you know, they're gonna get that same thing, but maybe Kristen's team needs to take the time to really figure out if we pull the trigger on that or not, looking at the next couple of years together, and making sure that yep, we could do it, we have the 631,000, but that means we're not gonna do Hardman, it means we're not gonna pay Vista. Cause it might, unless
Yeah,
we
it's
find
tough.
money, and I'm not gonna count on that, I think that's an imprudent way to run the town, is counting on finding money.
And if you look at, I mean, our job is health, safety, and welfare of the residents. We know both bridges are bad. And so, as much as it kills me not to do Brambleberry, I don't think we should.
Well, so in the road study, the proposed paved roads, Brambleberry is the number one priority over Vista. So
what's
it's the
that?
fifth, yeah, I'm looking at the table right here,
Yeah, it's
paved
the-
road priority,
it's the
Brambleberry,
fifth.
number one, no, it's the fifth in the traffic count.
Oh, fifth in the traffic count,
Oh,
that's
it's
right.
number one
But it's
priority
number
for
one in
paving.
priority?
Yeah,
What factors on?
And that's from
over Vista Drive, so, and
And so maybe that's next after the Hardman Bridge.
But this is exactly kind of the thing
Yeah,
that
it is.
citizens, or the advisory board of
agree.
town people and citizens people can help
That's what I
get
asked.
through.
Yeah, memorize the road stuff.
And you have to revise it every couple of months, because it'll constantly
I think
change.
one of the things I haven't seen, and I think is missing in all of this discussion, is the real safety risk with Hardman or Middle Branch. You know, Middle Branch was
Yes.
closed, so poof, you know, we are where we are with that. And Hardman is in worse shape. Hardman has a single, you know, culvert versus the two,
Well, the biggest
whatever.
split
But,
is one of the
you know,
issues with that one
what's the
too.
real, like, how long has it been? It's been like that since 2013 or before. I'm not
Mhm.
saying like, obviously we need to get it done.
Mhm.
But to flip the priority suddenly, like, okay, let's take this Brambleberry money and do both bridges, and Brambleberry, well, we'll get to you when we get to you. I just
Yeah.
don't agree
And
with
if
that.
there's right stuff right
That's not
in
exactly
you
what
to
happened, though,
maintain
Ruth.
it.
Yeah.
The Hardman prioritization last fall actually caused, the town council didn't move on paving Brambleberry or doing Middle Branch because they found out about Hardman. And when they found out about Hardman, they froze those two other projects because they said, we need to do the work, but this sure seems like it might be a bigger deal. So it wasn't that those were the priorities, and now suddenly we're saying Hardman. Hardman rose up last fall, and made some people happy, frankly, because it pushed Middle Branch down, the people who didn't want Middle Branch. And it was kind of almost a no-brainer that didn't even all get a lot of discussion at the council, so we better wait on Brambleberry until we know what's going on with Hardman, because Hardman just rose to the
Yeah.
top.
I mean, we
Rightly
knew-
or wrongly, but that wasn't something that
Right.
just happened by happenstance or happened in the last week.
So we
It
knew
happened
Middle
last
Branch
fall.
was bad, and so when the inspector was doing the inspections of them, we said, do both bridges. Since you're already in the bridge and in the creek, do both bridges, and that's when we found out that Hardman was actually in worse condition. As far as the actual
Did we actually put
culvert.
Brambleberry off because of money or because we just couldn't get to
Well, I was
it?
gonna say, so this is the frustrating part.
Yeah.
If that
No,
suddenly
we decided
bubbled to
not
the
to do
top,
it.
you know, because of whatever assessment and the town council decided to, you know, we're gonna put the bridge projects on hold because now we've got these other issues. Where is that documented? Why is that information not available? Why wasn't it shared with
Alright.
residents?
Here's what happened on Brambleberry. When we went out to bid on the roads last summer, there were two parts. One was to do the chip seals, and the other one was to come back and say, oh, whatever money is left over will go into the asphalt of Brambleberry. Unfortunately, when that bid was opened, a council member contacted the two bidders,
Oh, God, I
which
forgot about
violated the
that.
whole thing and shut us down on doing Brambleberry.
That's right.
And it would have been done because we had the money at the time. but
That's right,
because
and we couldn't do it.
somebody hit reply all and they shouldn't have. It put us in a legal position
Legal.
where we could not.
But that's also why that wasn't advertised, I mean, cause it's a mistake and, yeah. So that's probably why it wasn't explained like that, but unfortunately that's why that was
I've never heard that
delayed.
before.
I didn't know until.
You don't know
You knew
either?
about it.
You knew about it.
You don't read your
It's the kind of
emails.
stuff that just.
No,
Well, I
you knew
didn't
about,
know
a
that that
council
was
member
cool
had
until I heard about
contacted
this last year.
people that bid.
It makes
The
me.
bid.
That
rhyme
you
in
knew
my
about,
head
because
right
we
now.
discussed it.
Yeah, we
I don't
did discuss
think you're
it.
gonna solve this here with all this kind of stuff, but maybe one way out of this is to mention that we're budgeting funds in here, but we're looking at future projects
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean,
We're
we
gonna
have
form a
to.
roads advisory board to figure out the prioritization and what should be done first. And then you can kind of punt to that group, I
Well-
might solicit, I ran across a guy who's a road engineer who was up here at these 3 lots the other day when I was out campaigning. I said, well, you're the perfect guy we need, that, you know, about design, construction, and maintenance, and snow removal and everything.
Well, we also had a
So
road
we need
engineer,
you on
we had,
this
we had a,
board. So
we
they're out
had
there.
an expert from Alaska that stuck his
Yeah,
head
so-
under both those
so
bridges,
let's
said
create
they're
a-
fine.
Let's create a board. and-
Okay.
We had a lot
Like
of
I say, we're in
requests.
the process of developing this board, if we can get them on board, and these priorities, projects
I-
remain that,
Yeah.
then we'll pursue those. If not, we'll save the money and build up the war chest a little bit more until we can pick which one needs
I
to be
don't
done.
think we have the opportunity to sit on this money for another year if we can get the bids out
Absolutely
and that
not.
can go about the way it should. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but that is not fair to our town either.
Seems like
And we're
we're
supposed to be
firing.
doing a job, and like, I'm gonna be very disappointed if we don't get bids in for something, cause we had to put off a couple other things, it felt like, because of timing. So, which hopefully we can also figure that part out, so we don't have this problem again, but I just, yeah, I think a
Are we
decision was
getting Middle
made.
Branch done this year?
That was what,
better.
that was
Yeah.
the direction we gave Ryan.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
one.
Well, the design alternatives, but
Yes.
not, they haven't kicked off the,
Well, the
No, they haven't
design
started
was
the bid
also
process.
approved at that meeting.
they had a preferred design is what I took away from
They-
it.
The
they
motion,
voted
motion
for
said
You
we
might get
use the
one check mark
concrete, the
this year,
concrete.
two if you do
How come I
gravel.
asked at that meeting if there was a decision, and if we were gonna spend money or not, or have a special meeting, and I didn't.
Well,
get
at
any
the,
objections to that.
meeting where we voted, she says, we will spend money on Middle Branch with the concrete.
Yeah.
It's
If
an
they did.
option
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
whatever was specified, yeah.
Yeah, the concrete,
Concrete box
I think it was number
culvert.
2.
And that was
Double
approved.
lane.
Whatever it was.
But it was also approved to put it in the budget, but not spend it yet. I heard those words explicitly. I know I was there, I was tuned in.
Well, we won't spend it
The
until we actually
specific
award the
wording
bid.
on it was to do the concrete box culvert for $540,000 and
Preferred
proceed to
alternative.
bid.
And proceed to bid.
Yeah, of course you can always change your mind, but yeah, that's what.
But if that's
We don't
something
have to
that we
accept the
should
bid.
have a meeting and announce and allow it, like the people
Get the public input.
to, you know, well, the input, I mean, the decision's already been made, but at
People
least,
weren't out there that wanted to be in that meeting, and they didn't know what was gonna be talked about.
that's.
you know,
more
when we had the
PR
Hardman
issue.
meeting, it was the people
You'll hear
that
about
were,
it if you
the
mention
Hardman
stuff.
meeting were, almost everybody there was from Middle Branch, and that's all they wanted to talk about. So I kind of feel like the people that wanted
Wanted
Hardman
Hardman
never
should've
even
been there.
showed, and that was the
They're
actual
not mind
meeting.
readers, they
That's
didn't know what you were
actually a
talking
good
about. This
point.
isn't the
No, that was
publicized
the
meeting.
The
name of
meeting
the
was
meeting.
for Hardman,
The
and
meeting
nobody
said
was there for
Hardman.
it.
I don't think
And-
there's any advocates for Hardman, not because it's not something they need, it's just, it's critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
just said
It is
this
an
is a
arterial
meeting
road.
to decide whether we do or don't do Middle Branch, I would bet a lot you would get people who were against Middle Branch
Oh,
to
I'm
show
sure.
up. But since it
Right.
wasn't advertised as that, so it isn't that Hardeman fans did or didn't show up, it's that the anti-Middle Branch people didn't show up. And there are a lot of anti-Middle
Oh, I
Branch
know.
people. If you guys don't think there are, you're not talking
No,
about
I had
I
one-
it.
I had one call me this
I know
morning.
there is.
There are, and they would come because they
But
didn't think
that's,
they needed to.
but that's because they want their road done.
But on
It
the
might be,
city,
but
There's
it's
other
different else.
priorities, there's other, you know, maybe more dust control or something. There's other things they wanna spend
Maybe.
$100 million on. that
Or they just
benefit
think it's
more
not that
people.
important of the road, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just saying, we didn't advertise it that way, so you didn't get the anti-Middle Branch group. Look, we all know there's a reason why those 40 people showed up. Let's not
yeah,
dance
exactly.
around it.
I totally
So-
agree.
And you know what that does to the perception of the council, so.
Well, if that's what we have to take on to do the best for our town, then we'll take it on. which is unfortunate, because honestly, I think they both need to be done. And in that last meeting, Middle Branch was being talked about being pushed out another 5 years, and I'm sorry, they both need to be done. So if we have to put Middle Branch first to get that done, then I feel like that's what I had to do.
And we're just
I'm
not gonna
happy
make,
to
you're never gonna
explain
make
that.
everybody happy.
Yeah, well, that's not a reason not to try, but for sure, but I hear what you're saying. But I'm happy to have a meeting and explain that and hear the frustration, cause I know it will be there, cause honestly, I was on the side of doing Hardman last year. I was on the side of doing Hardman in January, but at this point, I'm like, but now they both need done, and we're not getting them both done, was the way I felt we were being pushed into just deciding on Hardman. So, that's why.
There's a
And I'm
good
happy to
chance you
explain
guys are
that.
gonna be able to explain that at a meeting as soon as you open it up to public comment at your council meeting. Because if there are people that are that upset over the prioritization, that's what they're gonna talk about.
If they know, that's.
Somebody's gonna show up and demand an answer, and it
And
can be
that's fine.
explained.
The other
And
way,
if they're upset that you didn't do Hardman when you had a meeting that was announced for Hardman, it seems to me, if you announce a meeting for Hardman and nobody shows advocating Hardman, they've kind of told the council you can adjust your priority, because here's what was announced, and you didn't show up to discuss it. But other people showed up to discuss something else they had as a priority.
Hardman isn't controversial, that's why nobody should.
Yeah.
Nobody on this branch cares about
Everybody
Hardman. I've
thinks
talked to
Hardman's
tons of
the
people,
priority.
they're like, Hardman, if it needs to be done, and done, whatever. But you know, we all know why there's a question around Middle Branch. What I'm trying to get to is, let's have a cohesive plan that looks ahead more than,
Yeah.
well, we gotta do something because we haven't done anything in 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
We just
Well,
wanna-
I agree
I'm
with
just-
that, but,
So
yeah.
I apologize for being a little bit flip,
We're
but
where we are.
But that
this
was my,
plan right here, that y'all, there's our plan as we sit, I'm not advocating we change the budget, just to be clear. What I do think you should consider is, okay, so that's great, now we're sitting here in a year, we've got 840,000. Absent new information that tells us we shouldn't be working on Hardman, because we've had engineers tell us, we've spent a lot of time as a council and as a town saying that we need to replace this bridge. You don't have any new data, and if somebody wants to go get new data, get it, but if you can't, you probably should be thinking about doing Hardman at that point. And next summer, and that's kind of what we were all thinking when we walked out of the 17th meeting, is we're gonna do one and then the other. So I'm just making sure y'all think ahead to that step, and say, okay, we got 840, we'll spend 500,000 on Hardman, then we'll be down to a very minimal level, but probably acceptable level of reserve rainy day funds. It'll be 300 grand, which is 15%, which is 1/6 of a year, 45 days maybe, it's light. But you won't have anything built towards Vista, and you solve the Vista problem, you cross that proverbial bridge when you get there. I'm just trying to make sure that we have a plan that we can actually explain to people why we're doing what we're doing. Both bridges are important, doing Middle Branch first makes sense. You are gonna have a valid question about Brambleberry and using those funds for that versus saving more for rainy day or saving for Vista, and I think that's a valid discussion that y'all should have when the time comes to pull the trigger on Brambleberry. But I do expect that a year from now, absent new information, we should be saying, all right, the precious funds we've got left, it's time for Hardman, and then we see where we're at and we go from there. That's a plan, and it's a defensible plan is all I'm trying to get to.
Okay. That was fun.
So I wanted you guys to wallow in that, because I think people are gonna poke at you
No, I
on
think it's
that.
good.
there's no doubt about it.
Sure.
The biggest topic
feel
out there is roads, everybody talks about.
I know.
We want
I
brand new
agree.
roads.
And Vista's a long ways off, the project's gonna take several years, we have to go try and find some money, I'll help in whatever way I can.
Yeah.
One quick question on Vista. If we tear up the road to put water in, isn't replacing the road part of the project?
No.
They replace it as they found it.
So they would just, yeah.
So we can get some of it.
Well,
No, they'll-
unfortunately, what's there right now is what they would replace, and what's there right now is not acceptable.
So would they lay down asphalt?
Yeah.
And you guys will look at that in the road committee.
Well, they would lay down this
Well,
much
how much-
asphalt, yeah.
Well, maybe there's
Well,
a,
we
That's
can't
the
pay the
main
whole thing, but maybe we just pay.
And it's
Up to a
only
certain
from,
point.
it's not the whole
Until we
road,
can.
it's just
It's for
Vista
our
West.
committee, it's gonna be
I live
perfect.
up in gravel where
It
it
is,
will
it's a
be
good
paved, but
product.
I think this is the prime road.
Maybe look at doing it in
Everybody
pieces
comes in
instead
out
of
of
all.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
it's
we
not
have
embarrassed
to,
by the
do-
pothole.
I think
we have so
the
much.
only hard thing is gonna be when the time comes here in the next couple months, I assume you're proceeding with bidding on Brambleberry, when the time comes to say, okay, we're gonna spend that $630,000, I think that's good, I think you should have another hard discussion.
Reassessment.
Okay, we thought it was good 3 months ago, we had some questions, now it's time to write a check. I mean, that number got real big.
No, no,
Well,
and
just
asphalt's
finding
really
it out.
expensive.
What-
That's
what's the
twice
alternative?
what I
What's the
was given
alternative?
as an
Sorry?
estimate.
What's the alternative to paving it?
Leave it as it is, keep
Yeah.
grading it.
Keep,
Yeah.
keep going,
Cheaper
but
than
we're
recession.
spending 200,000 extra money a year.
Some amount, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just throwing.
You are throwing it out
Some
there,
of
cause
Whatever the amount.
that's a lot of
is.
Some
grading.
amount.
I mean, that's
Still a
probably
lot.
pretty close with
Yeah.
time, material, and fuel.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
like Ruth
maybe.
said, that's a priority.
But
Is
it
not
could
that
be,
road and the road
instead of
study.
600,000, you look at how much it's
I mean,
gonna
I
be to
think you
hire
can
out
hang
to
your
have
hat on
that
that,
road
at least.
rebuilt
And that's something
with
that's
proper
defensible.
base and proper gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's 250,000.
Exactly, exactly.
That's what you and I
for the
talked
committee.
about.
Yes, it's coming along.
Yeah.
I think those are great projects for that committee.
Yeah, the biggest, to me, our biggest resource, besides money, is our labor. And if we're spending way too much labor down there maintaining that road,
That's an offset.
putting money in to reduce that
Could be,
labor
yeah.
by big, it allows that labor to then be focused on.
Could be, I don't know how much it is, but yeah, for sure, they're spending some extraordinary
They have to
effort.
quantify that as members of the committee, they could do that.
And we can't share the road study until we pass it in July. Is that the?
Cause they're
Because
gonna-
that knowledge too, for the community to see,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't taste good, I understand that, but unfortunately, this is kind of the way
Our
it is.
reality.
I mean, yeah,
You know, if it's a
We've
lot,
done this a lot.
It's
yeah.
a lot,
I'm
enough,
gonna-
I won't have to-
This
It's
is
never
the fun part.
easy.
Yeah, I don't like this part.
I hope this will be the last thing. After finding these benchmark datas, one of our goals was to set a rainy day fund target. I will come back to you guys with that, because it's my
Okay.
goal, I guess, but I'm gonna say we do 90 days instead of 500,000, we'll see what 90 days is,
But, but it's not realistic to assume zero income, because there's always gonna be sales tax and stuff coming in.
Right, that's just
so-
the way to look at it.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
not,
I
yeah,
thought
we're
that
not,
one
it's
year
not
was a
making
good
that
way to
assumption,
look at
it's
it.
literally just
Yeah.
saying, how many days of your expenses do you
I
have
mean,
in the
and that
bank?
also could be
Nobody
something
had
to go
less
to,
than
right?
211,
Because some of
and
those other
if our
towns
standard
are
was
old.
90, it's
And
not
we're
exactly
quite-
putting us
we've
out
been here 17
in a
years, so
dangerous
maybe we can
spot.
accumulate
How
over
big of a
time.
cushion do they have?
Is that an idea?
It's the way to
Yeah.
measure the cushion.
Yeah, we can.
So anyways, I just wanted to let y'all know that, I don't think 500 is the right number, I think it should be days. to
I
get
like
Yeah, I
that.
thought
that
that
answer,
was-
because that was much easier to look at. And the way you put it there, like, we dropped quite a ways just by doing our,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
it's a
mean,
lot.
look, I hear you, the money's there to be spent, I just wanna make sure we're thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead, that's all.
We
Do you have-
appreciate that, too.
Comparisons for, because this is statewide, and I get why you did that, but are the comparisons for what's local in the valley available?
We could get them, I haven't done it.
Yeah, I have
Because
no idea.
I think that makes, at least from a lobbying standpoint, if we're approaching the legislature,
Yeah.
that can make a difference.
We are a purple goose. We are a really strange animal. Our budget's bigger than Afton. You probably wouldn't intuitively guess that. Our budget's multiples of Alpine's. Their number of miles of roads they are responsible for surfacing and maintaining is a single-digit number.
Alpine is 8 miles.
Yeah, and ours is 31. I mean, our capital
Wonder they don't
needs and our
complain about
staffing
that.
needs are so far beyond theirs, but our revenue bases aren't that much bigger. So it's a complicated challenge
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah,
It is.
mostly
But
big
that's,
ones.
that's what I'm getting at. If we've got those comparisons,
We can do that.
we can make a case.
Right.
Yeah. No, I
For sure.
agree. We're definitely different, so.
So, not to take away from what we were just talking about, but I did mention to Dave, at one point, and I don't know if he had a chance to talk to you about getting pet waste stations, because I don't know if our SMO is he back? I saw him
No.
just,
No.
not yet.
He stuck his head
He had
in.
court.
Okay.
He goes back to the doctor in a couple
So-
of weeks, so.
Obviously, it is not ideal for multiple weeks for poor Willie to do 2 jobs. We didn't really think that through when we made him the ex officio. I think I was thinking like Jim would take a week vacation,
Yeah.
not like 6 to 8 weeks. So I've been hearing a few things from some of the citizens that have called, and one of them was that we're dealing with more pets in the area, and then they're having a lot more waste. So I know,
Bring out the snowplows again.
yeah, bring up the snow and then it just all covers up. It's
So
just wet.
if we have an idea of it, we still have money left for the dog park in this year's budget.
Oh, cool,
And then we
okay.
also have some in next year's budget as well.
Oh, awesome.
So if it's a matter of we need to order more mitt stations to to place around, we can
So
do
can we
that.
place them in other places besides the
Pick it up.
Fox
Along the
Run?
roads, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
I was-
well, then that becomes the question of, you're exactly right,
Yeah, who's gonna pick
picking
it
them
up and are they in the way of the mowing, so.
Could
Well,
that be an
and-
HOA?
yeah.
The HOA might be able to do something.
They're not gonna.
They're not going to.
No,
No?
I mean, right now,
In Arizona, our HOA has the
NRB
dog
does the
station.
ones that.
Because they-
Yeah, I mean, we do, the
They
town
probably
does
on
it
the
on
roads.
the trails, we do them on the trails in Fox Run Park,
Mhm.
the town does, but,
Yeah.
They're
um,
city roads, they're city roads.
we also
Well,
have to
if
I
pick
just
nobody
feel
pick it
like
up.
we do have people walking and then also we also have hopefully paths that will eventually go in and we'll probably definitely want them then.
You would want it.
So I don't
I
know.
mean, we
it's
could
just
put some
an
down
idea.
here,
That's
And
what I
I
was
don't
kind of
know.
wondering there, and the trailheads was another one that I was like.
they've got them on the trails.
There's no
Yeah.
repository when you come back, so you put
So
your
the ones I
football
was
card.
looking at were like,
Did it yesterday?
I mean, they're like $260, but they have the like recycle underneath, so the bags come out the top and then the recycle bin underneath. And yes, I know
So we use
that-
muck mitts now everywhere and it's pretty, it's easy because it's all the same key and same bags and
Oh,
everything,
okay,
so.
so you guys
But
already
that's the
kinda have
brand
one
that we
that you would
use,
use.
yeah.
Okay.
Initially, the group in Jackson, I think not Cause,
Pause.
Paws donated a ton of
Oh,
that
nice.
stuff to the town, and they always have them, so that would be the first suggestion, is if you want more of them, but we need to figure out where you
Where?
would put them.
Well,
And then
And
who
who
would
would dump
dispose
them?
them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
If they
always the
have the
challenge.
So I was like kind of thinking because we have so many walkers, like putting it on some of the main roads.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something where if they're mowing, like talking to the public works would be more what we should be.
Mowing and plowing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cause
no,
that's the
I'm
other
not-
thing is to make sure it's
well,
not gonna
so-
get.
Well, like this pathway across the street, you could easily do it there,
Yeah,
on that side.
and maybe
And
it's
that's not in the
something
way.
where it's something that is put in and chained in and then taken out during the winter, because that is a thing. I don't want it to be a plowing issue, but
Yeah.
at the same, and they're not gonna be used during the winter though, really. So, cause they'd be covered in snow.
You know, that's a
quite
tough one,
honestly.
I mean, I can tell you,
Stations, yeah.
because I walk a dog too, and
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's very difficult, the only way that even any SMO can enforce that, if they actually see the dog poop,
Yeah.
and they see the citizen walk away.
Yeah,
Otherwise, there's no enforcement on that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really tough.
Yeah.
Then
It's frustrating to me, and maybe that's
Yeah.
another education
Yeah,
program,
so
Well,
we're
that's
worried
true.
about
but,
dog poop, but, you talk to Ron Thacker, who walks every day, and he's carrying a garbage bag, he's picking up cans and
Yeah.
every day, on his walk.
we have a lot of people that do that, I can
So
appreciate
we're
that.
gonna put
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
you know, receptacles for
It's worth thinking about.
cans,
Yeah.
or, I mean,
Should we do it for all recycling? Is that what you mean?
no, not
Like
recycling, just
Or garbage?
Clean up,
Garbage,
yeah.
yeah.
But-
Well, maybe.
Plus,
And maybe
so
it's-
dog poop's not the only problem, it's.
That's true.
it's-
But it
That's what
still
I'm
comes
hearing
back
about
to
right
who's
now.
gonna empty them, who's
Yeah.
gonna pick them up.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, it would be a new
and,
service for the
How do we
town.
make them be responsible adults? You know, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough one, but I
Well,
know we do
maybe-
have them in several locations
You
now,
know, I think that roads
and the hiking
committee
trails.
will be the,
It does,
City roads and dog waste. It's hard to put on a business card, but
he does like to get
Thanks
the
for
wins.
taking it there. Dang
I
it.
like the way you think,
Well,
Ron.
maybe we should start with just one
Over
down
and
here,
Down here,
just see if
yeah.
it's even used. Cause if it's
Okay.
not, then no point in buying a bunch, right?
Yeah, and like I said, we use that brand because we have everything that goes, we buy it in bulk, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
The
that's
Trails
fine. I
crew
wasn't-
uses them all the time, and then Fox Run Park, so.
Okay.
So
yeah.
there is money in the budget was the answer you were looking for.
Okay.
And
Yes,
some-
there is.
Some money, but work with Kristen and
Okay.
Willie and.
And I think really starting with one, and let's just see if it gets
Yeah.
used down
I mean,
here
that, to me, that
versus-
makes a perfect play.
Okay.
Because a lot of people will take their dogs down here, and then they go out on the runway, or they go out on that golf course
Yeah.
and let their dogs run,
To
so.
that
that would be
walkway down there. So one in front of Kathy's house is one.
Yeah, right? I know.
Yeah, feels like a walkway down
Make
there.
my
somewhere.
dog
You just
carry
leave
the
that chair
food.
there for you, Rand.
All right, this is just a bunch of FYIs on mine, and then we'll go into the council. Did you still have more to talk about? You do?
Yeah, I wanted to
Okay.
share a tool.
Okay.
And I may not go through it,
Okay, Rand,
teach you how to use it, but I'll expose you to it.
you're up.
So, after all this frustrating I talked about and talking to neighbors in the last 2 weeks trying to get campaigns, part of my working career was in enterprise project management at the executive level and Six Sigma and Lean. Pass these around here. think I got a couple for
Yeah, I
you.
took classes at Six Sigma and I never could figure out how they
So
go.
there are a lot of tools we use to be effective and efficient. And Six
Oh,
Sigma tools
yeah.
have to be effective. That means delivering what you expect to deliver to the people, the customers, all based on voice of customer, which I call voice of citizen and resident now. And the lean tools help you be efficient after you've got a process that works in place. So what's frustrated me is that all these things at that last meeting 2 weeks ago, everything seemed to be thrown in there like the kitchen sink, like a free-for-all, and I was kind of bewildered by all that. But this is a simple tool called a pairwise comparison. One of the projects I did was a corporate capital management project so that we can rate all of the capital management, where do they want to spend money each year, in the $100 million budget, where do we want to spend it? Everybody, 1,000 requests come in, we have to figure out a common framework to provide it. This is a simple lower level tool when you have several different things. And I've got one matrix at the top is just blank how you use it, and the one at the bottom I just populated. But what you basically do is you have down the column and across the rows, you go row by row and say, compare each project to another one. And which one do you prefer as a more desirable or more preferable project? And then you put a 1 there if you're going across, like on row 1, page Vista, under middle branch. So under that example down here, would we prefer to pave Vista or put a middle branch bridge in? And I put a 1 there, meaning I would prefer to pave Vista. Well, there's an offsetting thing down here in the first column, pave Vista versus middle branch, and so that would be a 0.
Okay.
So every one of these pairs, you put a 1 and a 0. And then when you're done with this little exercise, over here on the point side, the highest number of points is your highest priority project. So you can see, this is just comparing preferences for projects. And your preferences are all based on what you hear, what you know, what the urgency is, and a lot of other factors. This just gets you a prioritization, and you'd repeat this every so often, because things are always changing. And this is before you start getting into cost benefits of each project and the timing and all the other issues. There's one little tool I kind of run. I always like this tool when you have a handful of things that you don't know. Which one should we do first? And then you get into, like Dave was talking about, well, which ones can we do in the short term and long term? Maybe you do a lower priority one in the short term, as long as your cash flow forecast has enough money for the bigger one later. Like the Vista
So
or
was
something.
this one, this example populated by, no, it's okay, I'm looking over here. No, was it populated by,
No, I just randomly put
You.
some in there to show you what
Okay.
it kind of looked like.
It was
It's just
not-
ones and zeros,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
each pair has a 1 or a 0. And
so
you
this is
really go-
Rand's preference?
Yeah, no, it's just example. When you do this project,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9,
But the
I've
question
done
you
these.
do,
so it's just a tool that.
if you took this to each plat, you'd get a whole different set of answers.
Well, that's why you need a.
Well, but the
that's
reality
why-
is that you were voted to represent everybody,
So you guys could use this sort of a thing every now and then, or a roads advisory.
I don't
committee
think this
could
is,
do it.
I think this is
And part of the
actually, I
Six
like
Sigma
it.
stuff is you go out and get the voice of the customer, you analyze all that data, you can measure it and so forth, you figure out what the alternatives are, you choose one, you pilot solutions, you implement the solutions, and you do control plans, and the whole 9 yards of those other tool
Are
sets.
you a Six Sigma black belt?
Yeah,
I thought so.
that was most of my time was in cost and finance.
But another example I
Verifying
had
project
is,
management.
I was in
So,
a project management group, and once in a while, my boss, let's have a brainstorming session.
yep,
We all get together, and he spends the first half hour talking about his ideas and stuff, or whatever, here's what we ought to be thinking about, whatever. And the answer is, if you like your boss, the answer's plain to your face, you just do what he wants.
well, yeah. I had a high-level executive tell me, don't do what your boss tells you to do, if it's stupid.
Do I still want to work here tomorrow?
So we had high-level
Well, and I,
but this is a tool you can use, a way to start thinking about. There are a whole host of tools that determine root causes, simple little things like this. Well, how do we get to the root cause of problems? And sometimes it's multiple causes. There's all kinds of tools in those toolkits, and this is just one, based on all this confusion and discussion about should we do this, that, whatever. This is
It's
one way to
hard.
start doing it, and then revisit it in a couple of months and see if they
Okay.
change. And then if your highest priority, when we start developing those into shelf-ready proposals that get submitted for grants or whatever, but this is one of the tools that I would try to teach to a roads advisory group. Because they're the ones that go
This
out
is
and
an
get all the
easy
data,
one.
do
yeah,
all the
it makes
analysis,
sense.
Easy one to deal with.
pursue grants or whatever options might be there.
Root cause is a little more complicated.
If we had more time, we've been on schedule today, I could have taken you through an exam. an example of how to do this, and we could talk through these, you know,
Okay.
for example, whose priority is which.
Can I go back to my
That's all.
piece?
Thank you.
Based on what happened yesterday, I'm gonna suggest that we find someone for the water board who is either very good in database or Excel, particularly macros. Because if they really want that data coming out of SCADA, somebody's gotta
He's
be able
right,
to
and that's a
collect it
concern that I have
and
now.
analyze it.
So,
Yeah,
Now, I'm gonna take that one step further.
okay.
Because if we go with somebody that's a database, we may want to pick someone up for the town. Because all of the software projects that Kristen is telling about and the software that we are using in the town is based on SQL, which is a database.
equal.
So that may be a way that the town can interface with the water board if somebody knows, because once you set it up, it's easy, it's a one button push.
So we have a resident who I also spoke to, a neighbor of mine, who is developed software for water distribution systems, and this company sells it to municipalities all over the place. He'd be an ideal person for this water board if he was
Yeah,
approached.
we've got two openings
So
right
we-
now.
They give him the computer software interface part of it. He'd be the first guy to go talk to. Colby Manwaring, he's up on plat 15, lot number
Colby what?
15, plat 15, lot 15, I think it is. Colby Manwaring,
Yeah, 'cause-
W-A-R-I-N-G.
Because once you put,
Okay.
you know, like I pulled the numbers, I mean, you got over 20,000 data points
Yeah.
per month.
I'm sure he
And
knows
you
there's
start-
somebody who can do all that.
Yeah,
Moving
you're
that
exactly
down.
right, cause that's what's gonna happen is unfortunately, and this has kind of already happened, is we said, all right, here's the information you've asked for. Well, nobody knows what they're
Nobody,
looking at.
and they haven't done it yet.
They haven't,
It's just been
you
sitting
know,
there.
they don't, they just go, yeah, okay, numbers, and they don't know what they're, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So, having somebody that
Once
could,
once you get it and
interpret
look at it, then it goes to the water board and they say, here's the ones that are the most important. Then you can rewrite that, either that report or that macro.
Can you get his phone number?
I've got it, I've got the contact
Okay,
number. But,
we can get it.
but this
from the water.
illustrates my example. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
expertise out there, and some of them
Yeah.
still
Well, there
working,
is.
such as he and the other engineer guy, but a lot of them are retired. and-
But he may be willing to be an advisor as opposed to being on the board
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
so.
or something, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna take some time.
He's the
to-
first guy I'd go, I'm not a water guy, he's one of the first ones I'd go to ask about.
Okay,
Well, the last time I
we
did
will
something
reach
like,
out to him.
last time I did something like
Just
this
tell them
was I
what-
was responsible for putting together all of
tell them
the
it's your fault.
hospitality numbers for Orange County, Florida.
Go up there and talk to
in
him.
Orlando. And to write the original program to get the macros set up took about 8 hours. And once it was written, the reports, the monthly reports took about 10 seconds. That's the key to it.
Okay. Well, and that's what that board needs, because you're right, they don't.
Yeah, we need someone with a little bit of technical expertise.
Okay,
Computer
we will reach,
expertise.
thank you, I will reach out to him.
You want
See-
to contact?
You do it?
Yeah, you have it?
Everybody
I'm
should
trying to
be
figure out how to
together.
get to it here. I'm not.
You can do it there or something.
Yeah, I'll do
I
it.
just gotta point them.
Yeah, I can pull it off of the water bill, their contact information. Okay,
Got the number.
I got, let's go back to my to-dos and then we'll get to everybody
I
else's.
quit.
Do you quit? Because we haven't made it to the updating. We're still on the first one. So this is just information, okay? The council does not need to do anything on it, but just so you guys know. So, the association has, received it's called a charitable gaming license. And evidently, they should have always had one, and no one knew that until Carrie came along. So, that is so you can do the Golf Calcutta and bingo. The town needs to be notified, which they did, but there's no action by the town council. So I just want you to, if somebody asks you, yes, they do have a charitable gaming license.
Yeah, and we do have them
So,
notified.
I didn't even know such a thing existed, but it does.
Yeah.
So does the
Yeah.
town need one if we someday ever do like a game night or anything like that?
It's just totally different, this
It's
is gambling.
different?
This is gambling.
Oh,
This is a form of
okay.
gambling, so it's,
I'm like, bingo's.
Bingo's
Yeah.
gambling?
yeah, bingo is gambling.
It was gambling.
Calcutta's
Yes.
and golf are
Nothing's in
gambling?
it.
Calcutta is gambling according to the state of Wyoming.
I'm just betting that I'll get the job done.
Yeah, so anyway, just in case a resident says, you know, they don't have a license, yes, they do.
Who gives it
They're
to
all
us?
legal,
State of Wyoming
State of
does.
Wyoming?
state of Wyoming, yeah.
And like I said,
And they have to just notify the town, which they immediately
and Carrie
do,
did
so-
email them over to me, so I have them
Okay,
on
so we
file.
have a copy of them, but just to give you guys a quick FYI on that one. So one of the comments is some of the council keeps saying, we don't know what's going on, we don't, you know.
Can we text the
And,
resident?
and you guys
No.
need to get on the Google Calendar, which would be helpful for everyone here. And so, I think you can help them. Gina should be able to help get on, right?
I think so, because I was gonna actually look at that.
Okay.
What I will do is that calendar invite is gonna go to your town email. So you'll have to go on Google and set up a Google account with your town email.
Town email.
So you're not setting up a new email, you're just using an existing email to set up a Google account. And that will tie everything together.
Okay.
Does that mean I'll be getting ton of emails on my phone?
No, unless you put it on
You
your
can set it up so it will go to your phone.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't
totally
have
up to you, but this is just so you can see the calendar, which is nice, cause all the meetings are on there. I mean, there's other stuff with Public Works and
Just 'cause I
water,
was
and
late today.
it just makes it easier to, yeah. You can look at the meetings, that's not what reminded me of
It's
it.
never really crossed my mind when I've set things up for new council when they come in, but honestly, I could probably do that
Yeah.
when I do. so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just helpful, cause then you can look, see what's going on that day.
I thought it was at 8:30, honestly, this morning. I don't know why. Did you think it was at 8:30?
No,
You
I had
thought.
the wrong day. I
Okay.
thought it was 2
You
weeks
even
ago.
Well, I
called
did
me
that for
last week and
yesterday.
double checked and I verified that it was today.
Yeah, that will be really helpful, I think, yes.
So yeah, so they can help you do that. And then we should see the final for the road study. Thank you, Rue, for all of your feedback. And we should see that by the end of the month. And that's all I have for me. So I'll turn it over to the town council to see if you guys have anything else. On this open discussion portion.
I have one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I took up everybody's.
So- Quite some time ago, you had asked me to look into the postal situation here.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've been back and forth with the postmaster down in Thane, and I know she's doubled the route, so now there's 2 mail carriers bringing things back and forth, but, you know, there's only 70 package boxes downstairs, and so there's still a lot of going to Thane to get stuff. So, long-term, you know, having some sort of postal facility up here that was Town of Star Valley Ranch would be great. The one thing the postmaster down there has told me on multiple occasions is in order to do that, you have to have a loading dock, so things can be delivered. And so, you know, all the work that's just been done on the new facility downstairs,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, where does that come in?
Can't that extra room be considered a voting?
Yeah, I'm trying to
It's
think of
the
any,
truck
because I
coming
worked in
in.
the postal service
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
several
you did.
years. And neither of the offices, neither of the 3 offices that I
So-
worked out of ever had a
And
loading
that's
dock.
the other thing I was wondering, is
Yeah,
this
I know.
really accurate scoop?
Probably not.
Like, does the little postal thing down in Etna, do they have a loading dock
No.
somewhere I'm not aware of?
Grover doesn't have a
Grover
loading
doesn't
dock.
have one, so.
I would, honestly, I hate to say it, but I'd go over ahead and go to Denver.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my
Well,
next
that
step at
guy's-
this point,
that
because
guy's
I
a
feel
piece
like
of
I'm
work.
getting this,
Yeah, yeah.
even though she's my neighbor.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, maybe you are.
I just wanted to throw it out there in
Yeah,
case
never heard
anybody
that
knew
one.
more than I did, and, okay.
Well, and the crazy thing is when we built that thing down there, we were told that we had to have bars on the window and all this stuff, and then after we did all of that, they're like, oh yeah, you don't need
You don't
this.
need that, so, okay.
Because the postmaster's changed.
Yes,
So,
okay.
yeah,
All right, so I am still pursuing it, just so you know,
Okay,
and,
thank you.
But that was the
While we're on
latest.
that topic, is that room off the side, actually the post belongs to that gal that's bringing, do they control that room down there?
Yes.
Okay, so they bring their stuff in and set it there,
mhm.
then they, can't they come in I thought they came in the back and.
No. No, that downstairs area has 2 doors on either side of it. One opens to the stairwell, which stays locked, and then the one that opens into that area. And in that area, there's another door that they only have the key.
Okay.
We don't have a key
We
to
don't
that
have
door.
access, yeah.
We have a key to those other 2 doors. Actually, I think we only have a key to the stairwell door. But there's 2 bathrooms down there, but they're the only ones that have access to that area. And that's because we don't have access to mail.
Okay.
That's just past the board.
Yeah,
And as far as the postal boxes, we know we need to order some more.
yes.
We have plenty of room down there, even though you don't realize it because it's been drywalled, but we have enough room.
So we
We
can
have
add
tons
more
of
package boxes.
It was framed out for
This
boxes
end.
and
Every
all
single
of that.
place,
It's
yeah.
the same as wide open.
We just need to order more and, yeah.
Yeah,
And the-
fortunately.
Is that
question
the
is gonna
town puts
come-
those in now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll have the guys put them in.
Your
Once we
question
get
is
'em
gonna
in.
be how big? Now with Amazon,
Yeah, we will
Not
only do them
delivered.
as big as we have now,
okay.
no
So
bigger. That was
good
what we
size.
were told by the post office, which is fine.
Yeah, she wants to take those, we have a bank of commercial boxes. They're only one lock, on the one end, and she wants to replace those with package lockers, and
Yeah.
I needed to have, Jamie give me a quote on those, cause she's the one who deals with the boxes,
So we know we need more.
How close are we to being full?
Not even close.
No one in.
Don't talk about number of box we have versus the
Still
people
not.
asking for them.
Probably, well, we have available boxes for mail. It's the package boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have plenty of room.
Amazon
I think
made
we built, I
packages
think the
a
build out
problem.
was like 2,500 boxes total
Oh, wow,
or something.
really?
I think it's probably more than that, cause
Could
we have
be.
1,400 in there now.
Yeah, plus
Wow.
room for package boxes. And then we have that little cutout area that we don't really use, and there's room in there for more package boxes. So,
Oh, that's good.
Good.
yeah, so it's big.
I had a question about fire pits. I didn't see it in our ordinance, but or is it somewhere, I'm not looking maybe, but to put, the fire pits in a certain place where it's away from flammable combustible stuff.
I
And I'm
don't
not,
think it says anything about any kind of a setback, it just says that it has to be
Clear
contained.
space around.
Yeah, it has to
Clear
have
space
clear
around.
space around it, it has to be contained, and it has to have a spark arrest.
Yes.
And then there's only certain times a year, right?
Right,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for wood fires?
Yeah.
That's got a
Outdoor
gas,
fire.
Yes.
recreational fire
In,
pits.
in the winter, you
Recreational,
can.
yeah.
but I've got,
It doesn't specify wood
okay,
versus
so I've got
gas,
a
it's
I've
just,
got a gas
any
one with
outdoor
those rocks on
recreational-
it, you know, and blows it.
that applies to any outdoor
That
recreational
That
fire
requires
pit.
a spark arrest on top of that?
Yes.
And then they were wondering though, like from, like putting it too close to your neighbor's house. I think that was a
Well, it still
concern.
has to follow property setbacks, so
Okay.
they're still
I
within,
don't think it said, it only said like 10 feet.
it's 10 feet from the
From
property
the
line.
sides.
Okay,
And that
From
covers
the
it,
property line.
property line.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 feet.
I would say so.
okay. And then, neutering and speeding. Somebody asked me if we do that, and I'm like, no, or require that, and I didn't see it anywhere.
For what?
Like
Neutering
our
and
Neutering
spaying,
and
so
spaying.
we don't require it, they
No,
just have to
they just
pay
have to pay
extra
more
when they
money.
register.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a different cost.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause that's kind of like
More
overstepping to
expensive.
require
Yeah.
something like that. Okay,
Mhm.
that's
We-
what I thought, but I didn't say that, cause I
Yeah.
don't know, but I didn't.
I don't think that we even,
Well, here's a loaded question for you. I know we have to register dogs.
yes,
What
we
about
do.
cats?
Yes, we do.
They're in there too.
Yeah.
Cats are supposed to be registered, we have a few cats registered.
There's not some.
It's
There's a lot
harder
of
to
feral cats.
enforce because it's a lot easier to go, come here puppy, than to go, come here kitty.
But it is in the ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we still have one person who's got pigeons, don't we?
Good.
I
Not
don't
that
know
I'm
anything
aware
about
of.
pigeons.
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
saw something off of,
Right side of number 4 Fairway, her name is Susan.
there was something when I went out, was it East Drive and turned
Was she a
right on
councilman?
Perkins?
I know
You
exactly
can
what
see
you're
in
talking
the
I think
back,
there's still pigeons in that coop.
it looked like
yeah, I
a
don't
coop
know.
behind the
There
house.
Because I know that we've tried to deal with
I
that.
saw them there the other day.
Or are they? Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question, so, I know Willie's busy, but I've had residents saying they're not getting their calls returned when they're calling the SMO number. And I don't think
Because
very
it's
many
sitting
people
on the
knew.
desk upstairs.
Because
I
the
figured.
SMO took his phone back and put it on the desk, and then I told him he can't work until he's released from the doctor.
Okay.
So we need to go get that phone,
Yeah, it's just.
or they need to call town.
So, well, yeah, maybe they are too, I'm not sure after the fact,
Yeah.
but they just said that they weren't getting calls back. And I think also because Jim does respond like in the
Mhm.
evenings and weekends to some of these people, I think where they're not getting that call back, they weren't. So I didn't know if we should say something about.
You can say that he's out of work.
Yeah, he's
I
not.
wouldn't give any more specifics
Well,
than
not
that.
about him personally, but like the
As far as
position itself, yeah, it's a little concerning that, I mean, I don't really feel like that's what Willie signed up for.
Mhm.
So, I just don't know if we need, I mean, I don't know, a backup plan, or if there's something,
I can tell you that we had a really hard time even getting Jim, so trying to find somebody to fill in or even,
Yeah,
anything
but I think
else
she's
gonna be
right, I mean,
difficult.
we've been lucky, there hasn't been any major problems, or they'll call, you can also call the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
That's when it's starting.
But like
It's gonna
4th of
start
July.
now.
Yeah, it will
Yeah.
start now.
Right, and then 4th of July is showing, and I didn't know if that's kind of liability for us as a town, like we were saying we have this service, but he isn't available.
No.
And so, I mean, like Jim isn't, so I didn't know. Or even a courtesy, like, obviously not sharing personal information about Jim, but just saying the position. I don't know what the proper wording would be, but I just feel like not saying anything, I've received a few different phone calls. And people aren't upset, they're more like, well, I'm not getting a response. You know, and it was over
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend, and I can understand if they're doing the job, they're already looking at whatever, if the call is on, they're just not taking the time to respond to
Can,
every call.
Yeah, and it
Can we
would be nice
change
to know
the
what they
message
are
on there? Is that-
specifically. Do you know?
so he can say,
Well,
I'm not,
like, when
I'm
was
not,
the
I'm on
water one
vacation,
that
if it's a
brought
big
up
issue,
earlier
call
today?
Well, then they should,
Nobody-
yeah, well, then that
town
would have
office
been,
or
they should call.
change
Water.
the message on there, so
Kind of
these,
thing.
Well, they called the SMO,
Oh,
so, but then never got a call back. The other one was.
Yeah, I think that's hard for, cause a leaking water is not a code enforcement issue.
Yeah,
That is a water
water
issue.
Okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one is kinda weird.
Yeah.
But people,
I'm
for some
sure.
reason, everybody calls Jim for everything, so.
Well,
I don't know why.
And I think normally Jim redirects them too, like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
been
he
pretty
probably
courteous
would.
with his phone, like saying like, hey, I'm not the person, this is the person.
Yeah.
And then the cat, there was some feral cats off of Vista that the person said they had left a message, and I don't know, I asked which number, they said it was the SMO number.
Good luck catching a feral cat.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah, and
catch,
that's not, that
No.
wouldn't even be, that's not a code enforcement issue.
Well, I think they were out in the road too, so
Oh,
like,
okay.
they were concerned they were gonna cause an accident or something, which
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't have cats, but, and then the fire pit one was
Okay.
just recent as well.
Okay.
And where the person was like, and so I was like, well, that's some, we can look at as ordinances too, that
Yeah.
hopefully like it doesn't just keep reoccurring for people, but.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I can look it up now, but, pretty sure that it says that it has to be within the setbacks, which is 10 feet from the
Okay.
property line.
And I can share that with them, because it's also an Airbnb, so it's like,
Oh, well, then that's a whole nother.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's also where, you know, once we get this thing up, well, he'll be worried, so.
Yeah. But he does field a lot of calls that really.
I know, yeah. So
It's,
I appreciate him more now because I have been getting a lot because I gave my cell phone out.
It's 9204 is the code number for
Oh.
recreational fires.
I'm sorry, what was it again?
9204, so
I
it's
think that was the one I was looking at.
chapter 9, 92.
Yeah, and I saw that it said 10 feet, but I didn't clarify to her it was property lines, so I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago, I had about 6 women were Airbnb next door. I looked out and my bridge across the ditch, here they were all draped over it getting pictures. They're trespassing over it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my God. Okay. Yeah, Ron, did you have anything else that you wanted to go over? Okay, and Taylor, we got
Put a
yours?
toll sign on.
Right.
Okay.
Start charging them.
All right. So, the last thing is council priorities and updated agendas. And I just have, I don't know what kind of legislation we have coming. I think I probably want to do a proclamation for Terry in July. So I'll get that one done. And then I don't know what, any kind of legislation that you guys have coming for
Pretty much
July?
done, I just need to get it
Okay,
approved.
Hopefully you're gonna have 3.
okay. So that's right, because we meet with P and Z before that, okay. So I just
We're
want to make
supposed to
sure.
be ready
And
to
then-
review tomorrow.
Okay.
And then in July, I'll also have the road board, because I pretty much have that done.
Okay.
But I'm just getting it reviewed. Like
Yeah, she's a good person to have
editing.
review.
Editing and
Everything.
all that.
And then the last thing I had was, for future, is just a reminder that the goal owner sheets, that we get those done and get them emailed into Dave and the rest of the council. The 20th, I think, is the
Yes,
deadline.
20th.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a
Vacations
panic attack
through.
when I saw my name on there and was like, what?
No, that's Kirsten.
I'm gonna be gone, what am I supposed to do with
Everything by the
this?
That was kinda
27th
funny.
or something, so we have,
Yeah.
that'll be great.
And then I don't know if we'll have any appointments in July.
Yeah,
I
we'll
guess,
have 2 water boards.
sounds like you're
At
gonna
least one
force
water
me into
board.
doing that one.
Yeah, I don't know, hopefully maybe 2 water board and, you know.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Are we doing the finance one tonight?
Yes,
Yeah, but we're doing everything tonight, so I don't know what else we'll have other than that.
which, I need to actually get an email address for him so he can start getting CC'd on stuff.
Would be nice.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to chase him down at work.
Oh, Zach,
Exactly.
yeah, okay. And that's all I have. So, need a motion to recess, if you're ready.
I move at recess.
Second.
Second? Been moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We have our marching orders.